Hello everybody, welcome into my latest live broadcast. We have an unusual, rare Saturday broadcast because a rare and unusual thing happened during yesterday's video. It's been a while since we've worked with Beelink, and I guess some things have changed. Well, we've been out of touch with Beelink. Over at Beelink, things have changed. They don't seem to know what they sell anymore. They don't seem to understand basics of computers. And they seem as though they can't seem to get a website up and running. They can't provide the right drivers or the drivers at all for certain devices that they've manufactured. And they've fallen quite a bit from this wonderful leader in the industry down to, I don't know, the opposite of that, when their own employees don't even understand what they're selling, when they don't provide the drivers for the thing that they made and they sell, and they don't seem to know how to fix it. I am just shocked. Today it is Saturday, the 11th of April, 2026. I am Carey Holzman. And I got this all figured out last night, and the way I figured it out is probably the future. One of the things you're going to hear me harp on and on and on is about keeping your education updated. If you're working on 20-year-old computers and you have 20-year-old knowledge, perfect, don't change a thing. But the 20-year-old knowledge, the 10-year-old knowledge, even the 5-year-old knowledge, in this case, we're only going to go back to our last experience with Beelink was a good one. That was about 2.5, 3 years ago. So in 2.5 to 3 years, a lot of things have changed. And how we go about seeing problems that never existed in the history of computers before, seeing error messages that we've never seen before, we have to learn how to handle these different unique errors and troubles that come with advanced hardware compared to what the hardware was 10 or 15 years ago. If you try and fix error messages that never existed in your previous experience, good luck with that, because you're going to have to learn about what that error is, why it's unique to a modern operating system, and it brings a unique diagnostic and repair attitude to fix it, at least quickly, right? To get to it, resolve it, and move on. And we're going to talk some more about that. And today is a great example of why old knowledge just doesn't work anymore and where to get the new knowledge from. And of course, YouTube videos and the internet in general are a great source, but more and more AI is doing a better job. And quite frankly, when people talk about AI worried about taking people's jobs, AI was able to provide an answer with this that neither Google search nor any Beelink employee could provide. And the Beelink employees have been asked it numerous times in Reddit and on their own forum pages, and they just cannot provide an answer. They don't know the answer. And yet AI gave me the direct answer, and it was within just a few minutes. I just had to think to do it. Now, I don't know why a Beelink employee couldn't educate themselves about their own products using AI, but why even need the employee anymore? Just fire them, get rid of them, and just replace them with AI, and then the customers would be getting faster, more reliable help. That's when I say they've really fallen from a leadership position in this industry, and good riddance to anybody AI replaces. You aren't needed anymore. Get a new skill set. The world evolves. You know, there's not much call for blacksmiths anymore or leather workers. Remember Radio Shack? That started out as Tandy Leather Company. And for a while, during a certain period of history in our culture, you couldn't keep up with the amount of work you had. And then the culture changes, the technology evolves, and people want to cry and whine and go, boo-hoo, I'm being left behind. No. You're not being left behind, you're just not keeping up. So it's not that you're being isolated away from anybody else. There are certain things, certain careers and career paths that are only available for a limited number of years. VCR repairman, very popular in the 1980s, not so much today. All right? Companies even not making blank Blu-rays anymore. I think only 2 companies now are committed to continuing to make Blu-rays because the market has moved on overall. There's still some hangers on, enough that a couple of companies will continue to manufacture products for them, but give it a few more years and it's just not going to be a thing anymore because we'll have moved on. Society moves on. Whether or not you move on with society is on you. Now, what Beelink has done is the opposite. Beelink was leading, in my opinion, the quality, support, every avenue of mini PCs. Flagship products that were unlike anybody else, unique designs. Now they don't have web pages that work. They don't have drivers that are valid. They told us, they were telling people download the original system image and put it back on there. That's how you get your driver back. Instead of, when you download their drivers, it's missing the driver. And then when you point it out to them, they go, well, that's not us. We don't have a camera. Is that your camera? That's your system. What is wrong with people? They don't even know what they're selling. So this is frustrating and it's heartbreaking. You have no idea why I'm so emotional about this, because what a promising and brilliant company that's just deteriorated into just something you find on Temu. It's just sad. So for all of the poor customers that got abandoned by Beelink, trying to find drivers that are not a standard in the industry, that they don't seem to know anything about, and cannot provide a solution other than say, well, put the original image back on it. So you download this 22 gig file, which, by the way, good luck finding it, and it's named firmware.rar. That's not firmware. That's a complete OS image. These are, oh my gosh, how can Beelink justify this level of ignorance or incompetence? At this point, they've been in business for such a long time. If anybody should know better, if anyone should know the difference between what firmware is and what an operating system is and what a driver is, and when a driver is missing, what their own computer says in the device manager, they should know. They made it and they've been around for a long time. Then on top of that, a bunch of the Windows licenses that were coded into the BIOS are all invalid across the board. If you go to Beelink's forum and you look at the sheer number of people asking for a license, which Beelink will provide, why are so many dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people in their forums, regardless of the Beelink model, all coming in and saying, product won't activate, product won't activate, product won't activate. And they don't give you an answer why. They don't tell you why. They just go, send us a picture of your serial number and we'll send you a product key. Are you kidding me? How humiliating and embarrassing. There is nothing I can say about Beelink that's any worse than what they're doing to themselves right now. So, you know, Beelink's going to be off my list. As far as looking any more Beelink computers, I am so shocked at just how far they've let themselves go. They just don't even care anymore. As far as I can tell, Beelink has given up on Beelink. So why should I or you continue to believe in them when they don't even believe in themselves? They can't put a modicum of effort using AI to solve their problems, and instead continue to hire inept or apathetic employees who just don't care. They just don't know. They aren't properly trained. Something somewhere is really rotten at Beelink. So we have to fix it ourselves. Okay, so if I bought something from Temu, okay, and it's some, I don't know, brand I never heard of, and it's like, hey, you're on your own, I understood that when I bought it. I was not expecting that when buying from a big brand from Beelink. I am floored. I don't know how much I can express how shocked I am that I have to do this on a Saturday and get this off my chest and show you what Beelink refuses or is completely ignorant of. Because if anybody else has one of these computers, you didn't do anything wrong other than you bought from Beelink. Beelink has abandoned you. So I'm here to do what Beelink should have done. I don't get paid by Beelink to do their job. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to show you how we figured this out using modern technology, which apparently Beelink can make it, but they don't know how to use it. So let's go ahead and return back over to this computer. This is our Beelink. This is the SEi14. This is the Ultra 5, is it Ultra 5 model, which is fairly current. They made this last year, and then suddenly they stopped making it, which is very unusual. No explanation, and any record of this ever existing on Beelink's official sites, it's all been wiped out. So they do make an SEi14 now with an Ultra 9, but the Ultra 5, it's as if it never existed. So when you download their, I didn't finish saying, when you download their 22 gig OS image called firmware.rar and you extract it and you boot from it, it doesn't work. You can't even put it back. When they're like, all you got to do is put it back to the original system image. Here's the link. You download it. You put it onto a USB drive following all their instructions. The screen you get doesn't match their sample screen at all. It looks completely different. And then it crashes, says it can't load the Windows recovery environment. It says it all in Chinese. There's no English on it. So I take a picture with my phone. I go to Grok and I say, what does this image, what's the text in the image say? And Grok looks at the image and it translates it to English for me. That's how I know what it says. So this doesn't work. And when it breaks in Chinese or, you know, Mandarin, Cantonese, whatever it is. How much more could they do wrong? I mean, the fact that it's not on fire and smoking right now is about the best thing I can say about it. That is, you know, hey, thumbs up, it's not on fire yet. Tell us how you really feel. All right, so here's what I want to do. Let's jump over here because I want to show you, once I got this figured out, I went ahead and I ran Crystal Dismark and Cinebench, and you might be curious, since we didn't have time to get to that yesterday, how it performed. So let me show you. Let's jump over here to this computer's desktop. Okay, let me grab this mouse over here. And let me go full screen so I can see it the way you guys get to see it. Oh, that's better. All right, so first of all, right-click on this start button, go to Device Manager, and you'll see everything's happy in here now, right? Everything's good. And then if we look at our Crystal Dismark numbers with the Feijing S880 drive that we put in here, it's getting the numbers it's supposed to get, Gen 4x4, everything looks good. And then if we look at our Cinebench results, the Ultra 5 processor performs as expected, okay? And the machine got as hot as 89 degrees Celsius on the performance core number 8. This one's an interesting model in that it only has 1, 2, 3, 4 performance cores, and then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, it's got 8, 9, 10 efficiency cores. And 2 of those are low power efficiency cores. Anyway, super efficient core, I don't know what you're going to call it. So overall, you know, the scores we see on the multi-core test and the single core fall within expected range. So as far as the CPU goes, everything's fine. So what I need to do essentially to demonstrate this problem is to put it back to, okay, we bought it bare bones off eBay. It was never sold bare bones, by the way, because there's no way they could support it. You wouldn't be able to get the driver. The average person cannot get the driver. Beelink doesn't know how to get the driver. It's the most frustrating thing. You can't just simply copy off another Beelink computer unless it happens to use this CPU. That's it. It's got to be a Meteor Lake CPU. So since Beelink doesn't seem to have a clue what they built, and since it's not a very common processor, the key is to find another manufacturer who uses the CPU and get the driver from them instead of getting it from the manufacturer here. They should provide their own drivers. I should not have to go to one of their competitors to download a file that's needed for this computer to run, and that's embarrassing, it's humiliating, it's inexcusable, it's unprofessional, and it is profoundly disheartening to any sort of confidence that I had in Beelink. It is out the window now. What I had to go through to find this driver as a professional technician leads me to believe that an average user is just screwed. There is no solution. So I'm doing what I can to put the information out online So when people do search it, they'll find me and they'll find their answer, because it's the only place it's going to be unless Beelink decides to turn things around and fix all the issues. And I'm not holding my breath for that to happen. In fact, I expect Beelink is just going to get worse and worse, and then they're going to be gone. Because what I'm seeing from them are death rattles. I'm seeing a company that's failing, barely staying alive, that's doing the least bit amount that they can do to spend the least bit amount of money so they prevent themselves from dying off. So it's like this struggle that so long as they continue to do what they're doing, all they're doing is prolonging the inevitable, which is their ultimate demise or sale. They need to turn this around before it's too late. And I don't have any say in that. So I would stay far away from Beelink, in my opinion, if I'm advising you, until this is figured out, their website starts working, their support starts being more professional and knowing what they're talking about. I would stay far away until this gets sorted, because it may not sort well. You may end up with a computer where the company's gone. At this point, it's pretty much the way this was treated. It's as if this product never existed. Beelink support doesn't seem to know anything about it. And you're on your own. The same as if the company was already out of business. So for those reasons, my advice is stay away from Beelink right now and see how this plays out. Give them another year or so. And we're more than happy to give them another chance if they show us they're making an effort. But what I'm seeing is less effort, and I expect to see even less in the future until there's nothing left. I hope I'm wrong. So first thing we need to do is wipe this out. We'll pretend as though, since I know what to expect, right? I thought I knew what to expect, but that's why we do the reviews. What I need to do is wipe this clean and do a fresh install of Windows 11, having no drivers, just like we did yesterday. We're going to repeat right up to the point where we get stuck, but now I can show you how to move past that sticking point, which doesn't seem to be any information online. Period. There's no other Beelink like this, to the best of my knowledge. And you just got lucky if you bought this one. You know what I mean? But even if you have a different model, good luck finding the drivers. Beelink is what a mess. Their website's a mess. Their driver support is a mess. Their technical support is a mess. And it's been pretty bad now for about 6 months. So I think that's not a good sign. It's not like, oh, we're in the middle of reconstructing the site. No, that would have been done by now. Something's been abandoned and neglected with regards to their web presence, their drivers, their support. It's bad. Okay, so let's just pretend they just didn't offer any support. Let's just pretend they don't offer drivers. Okay, as a computer, I like it. As a company, not so much. But let's just do a clean install of Windows 11. Let's start all over again. And I'm going to show you what Beelink doesn't seem to know about their own products. Okay? And this is to benefit anybody who got stuck with one of these, who put their money and their faith into this company only to get blown off by them. Because that's how I feel right now. So I'm going to plug, I don't know, I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know which one of these is USB 2 and which one's USB 3, but that's our Windows 11 media installation tool. And what I'm going to do is jump over here. Actually, I can put myself down in a corner for this. And then we're going to say shut down and restart. I'm trying to think if I should maybe just move that down a little bit more. I'll resize it here in a minute, but I'm having some trouble seeing the screen. Oh, I know. I just need to go full screen over here. Okay, now I can see better. So start, shut down, restart. Then I'm going to grab the keyboard, and for the boot menu, it's F7. So once that word restarting goes away, I'll start pressing F7. The timing on this shouldn't be that difficult. You shouldn't have to panic, and you shouldn't have to keep pressing, da-da-da-da-da-da. Just maybe one press every 3/4 of a second ought to get you there. Just keep pressing it until eventually we should see a boot override menu. Assuming I turned the keyboard on. I think I did. Maybe I didn't turn my keyboard on. So another way we can do this, of course, as I demonstrated yesterday, is you go to Windows Update, go to the Advanced options under Recovery, and then choose the Advanced Startup menu. And that'll get you in every single time. So I'll just do it that way now. But F7 is the right key. And I wasn't sure of that yesterday. So let's go Settings. We'll go to Windows Update. We'll go to, let's see, Advanced options. We're going to go to Recovery. And we're going to go to Advanced Startup and hit Restart now. And then when that restarts, it's going to give us a recovery. Think of it like the old-fashioned start menu back in Windows XP days, Windows 98 days. What did they used to call that? The safe mode menu? Or you could choose safe mode from that startup menu. This is the modern version of that. And started this with Windows 10, I believe, is when we first started to see this menu. And it's changed because of the UEFI BIOS, and that changes a lot of diagnostics as well, because prior to that, the problems you have with the legacy BIOS and compatibility support mode weren't problems back in the day, but they can be today because of UEFI. And that's why this continual education and updating diagnostics and repair procedures is so critical if you're going to be using modern day computers and you want to be self-reliant. So we go over here to use a device, right? That's what we want to do. And UEFI SanDisk, that's our flash drive that has Windows 11 on the, the installer. So we'll click on that, and then that's it. The system reboots. We don't manually go into the BIOS and override the boot order, because then we have to manually go into the BIOS and switch it back. We just want the boot order changed this one time. So that'll start up. And what we'll do is we'll erase all the partitions on the drive. We're going to start all over again as though, we've got our own Windows 11 modern 25H2. And we're going to put a nice clean install on this. Just a very common thing. More advanced or more technically savvy home users do. It's not really rocket science, and it's not that uncommon. So I'm going to click Next, US, agree to everything, Next. The first thing I'm going to want to do here is I want to remove all the partitions off the drive. So we'll accept the license agreement. And then I'm going to go to where it says disk 0, partitions 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want to get rid of all those. So just one at a time, doesn't matter what order we go in. We want to delete all of disk 0 until we're left with just one disk 0 that says unallocated space. Just like that. Disk 1 is the USB flash drive that we booted from. So disk 0 is our internal NVMe drive, and now we have erased it. It's blank as though it was brand new out of a box. That could be used in a PlayStation, it could be used in a Mac, it could be used in a Linux machine. So they all have different file systems. So the manufacturers, they give it to you just blank, and it's up to you to know what a partition is and what a format is. Otherwise, probably should hire somebody to do this. So this is what the drive would look like brand new out of the box. It'd come up here and it would say disk 0 unallocated space. So now we just treat it like we've never installed before. So we hit Next, and it's going to summarize what we're about to do. So I hit Install and let it run. Now thankfully, modern day Windows 11 doesn't take very long to install. This isn't, again, something that really base your previous experience on older OSs, because it's never been easier. It's really never been any faster, and the installs have never been more successful. Continual evolution with the software and the hardware has combined into a system that's far more reliable, far faster. It does open up new security issues, which is, again, somewhere else we have to continually update our education to understand what the risks are and how to alleviate them, or how to, do our best to reduce the odds of becoming a victim. And the education doesn't stop. You don't just get to learn something once with a computer and then think, well, you're good. No, you're not, unless you use that same computer You never change the operating system. You never change any of the parts. In that case, you don't have to change any of your education. But if you like to keep up and you like to have the latest and greatest, and you want to understand Wi-Fi 7 or Wi-Fi 8 or Cat 5 versus Cat 6 versus Cat 7 versus Cat 8 cabling, it requires continual education. Just because you did something a certain way years ago, it is so wrong for anybody to assume that we do that the same way. It is highly unlikely. And while it might work, it is profoundly inefficient most of the time. It's working harder rather than smarter. So, while I can lead a horse to water and I can't make it drink, what I can do is give you a live demonstration on these new techniques and how effective they are, in the hopes to inspire you to want to better yourself. Because you don't know what you don't know. And it's a great example of what I didn't know yesterday that I now know today. And since I know it, and it was so hard for me to figure this out, that motivates me to make this video, to spread that knowledge so no one else has to go through what I went through. Everything you thought you knew about replacing drivers does not apply here. This is completely different from any of your past experiences. I would say this is closer to, we bought a Linux-based machine from a company called Soyan, if you recall. And I thought, let's take Linux off it, put Windows on it. And Soyan has no, at the time, had no website, no downloads. It wasn't sold with Windows, so they didn't provide any Windows drivers. But the logic was, if you remember this, I said, I know other computer companies make essentially the same computer. They use the same CPU. It might have been like an AMD 3550 or something, and you can't get the graphics driver from AMD anymore. AMD has abandoned you and said, tough luck. Go to your manufacturer. But there's no manufacturer to go to. So now what do you do? What I would do is I'd say, well, what other manufacturer used an AMD 3550 processor? Do they have a website? Do they have downloads? Because they'll be the same drivers. And that's how we resolve the issues with the Soyan. And it took a long time for me to kind of come to that conclusion. Now, that wasn't that long ago. Today, I wouldn't do that same thing anymore because AI can do it for me, do it faster. And there's no, it's really lazy. It's basically me getting dumber. It's me letting AI do the thinking. And all I have to do is be very specific with the AI. And the AI will give me the answer straight away. But if I'm not specific with the AI, I might be an AI having a conversation, which isn't really that terrible. So I want to demonstrate today, once we get this installed, I'm going to show you what the device manager looks like on a clean install of Windows 11 25H2. I'm going to show you we can download the drivers from Beelink, assuming you could even find them, and I'll show you how I found them. Download them and apply them, and when it's all said and done and all the Windows updates are put in, you're still left with two devices in the device manager that Beelink is completely oblivious about their own machine. They are confused, they don't understand, and they are not helpful. And they've never provided the driver. Not since the day this came out, and it's nothing that applies to any other machine they made. But they did make this. That they have no idea what they made. It's shocking. It's not like they have that many PCs. It's not like, can you imagine if you went to a car dealership and the car salesman knew nothing about the car that they were selling? What are they doing? You're better off just ask AI about the car you're looking at. You get all the answers. Get rid of the salesman. This is either a training issue. This is either a corporate lack of caring, like they just gave up. They just don't care anymore. I don't know what it is, but if I walked into a car dealership and the salesman came out and couldn't answer basic questions about the car. What engine does it have? I don't know. How much horsepower does it have? I don't know. Okay, I'm not quite sure you understood what your role in this, why I'm here and why we're talking. You're supposed to be somebody that can answer my questions. That's supposed to be your job. So I don't hire you, I don't run the dealership, but if that's what the dealership is doing, I can't even imagine what the mechanics are doing. So I'm going to take my business somewhere else. I don't need to go any further. I don't work for the dealership. It's not my job to train their employees. And if they're so woefully inadequately staffed, that's a big sign that they're going to be incompetent on everything. So I'm just going to leave and take my business somewhere else. And that's how I feel about Beelink right now. Oh, I did not disconnect the network cable, did I? Well, I appreciate the reminder, Frankie, but here's the deal. In this case, I got lucky because the driver for the network card does not load automatically. The driver for the Wi-Fi card does, but not the network card. So I got lucky on that. And it's always a good rule to always unplug the network cable when installing Windows. Otherwise, it can create all kinds of problems and take a long time to get Windows installed. So I just saw your comment there, and yeah, I should have unplugged it. I just got lucky, as I mentioned. That device driver for this network card in this Beelink does not load by default. And that means in order for us to get that to load, I have to use, just like I did yesterday, I have to use a USB to Ethernet adapter. I got these on Amazon. They're like 15, 20 bucks. And they have built-in drivers to Windows 10 and 11. So you just plug it in, it auto-detects, plug your network cable in, get online, get your drivers for your network card using this network card. And then you don't need this anymore. So it's one of my most important tools that I have in my tool bag as a tech, because I work on all different kinds of hardware. And they're so inexpensive. They pretty much work forever. I've never seen one break. This one's a 2.5 gig. I've got them in 1 gig. I've got them in 5 gig. I've got them in 10 gig. Why? Why do I need 10 gigs? I don't have any customers with 10 gigs. Anyway, this one's a 2.5. And then I have them in USB type A, USB type C, and they even have them with adapters that you can buy on Amazon, where you can put an adapter and switch it from one to the other. You don't have to buy individual units. So, okay, let's get back to finishing our install. So I'm going to come back over here full screen. And click yes. And yes, and skip. And I don't have internet. That was the Wi-Fi driver that does load. So you could just connect to your Wi-Fi, right? You wouldn't have to use a USB adapter. But for me making live videos, I'm not connecting to my Wi-Fi, you know, potentially showing my SSID and password to the world. So I'm going to just put a username of user, hit enter, and hit enter for just a blank password. And then I like to keep location settings on. Okay, that's going to keep our date and time always up to date, even during daylight saving time. I just won't have to mess with it. I don't have to worry about losing or gaining minutes. It just takes care of it for me, and I don't have to think about it. So with that, that would be our clean install of Windows 11. And while that finishes, what I'm going to do at this point is pull the flash drive out, because we're done with it. We don't need it anymore. And in just a minute, when we get to the desktop, we're going to take a look at the device manager. And we're going to see the extreme number of, what do I want to call these? They're sort of like orphaned devices where Microsoft is not provided the drivers, therefore Microsoft can't provide them to you because the company is not working with Microsoft. Therefore, because they're not working with Microsoft, they have to provide the drivers. But when you try and find the drivers, good luck. And when you do ultimately find them, you'll find one driver is missing. And it's vague, and there's no information online other than other people are also looking for it. That's about it. So that's what I'm going to show you. So we're going to repeat exactly what we did yesterday at this point, which is I'm going to take my, well, first of all, if I take that Ethernet cable, let's get rid of camera 1 here so you can watch that bottom right corner. You'll notice we have this globe down here that indicates we don't have an internet connection. And even if I take the Ethernet cable and plug it in, which I've just now plugged into the back of the Mini, nothing changes. It has no indication of a cable being installed, because in order for that to work, it needs a driver. And since the driver is not being provided to Microsoft, Microsoft is not providing the driver to you. They don't have it to offer. So let's take a look at the device manager first and foremost. And you know, modern day computers like this should have maybe 2-3 things, maybe 4 things, and most of that is just a chipset driver. So let's right click on the start menu. Let's go to device manager, and we're going to come over here and see how many devices. There's the Ethernet controller. It knows it's an Ethernet controller, just doesn't know what it is as far as how to talk to it. That's what a driver does. Multimedia controller, what is that? Nobody knows. Well, you're going to learn. PCI data acquisition and signal processor, PCI device, PCI. It's a very generic information. SM bus controller, that's going to be part of the chipset. And if you wanted it to be even more vague, how about just unknown device? You thought these were vague. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 devices. So first thing is, in order to get the Windows updates and in order to potentially get some of those drivers provided to us by Microsoft, we have to hit Windows Update. So to do that, we need to get online. As I mentioned, we could go with Wi-Fi. You could, I can't. So let me come back over here to camera 1, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to take that blue Ethernet cable back out that I had plugged in there while I was telling you, I was narrating. We're going to plug it in here, and we're going to plug this into any USB port. So I'll plug it in back here, and I'm going to turn off camera 1, and I want you to watch the bottom right corner as the device driver will load. Once it loads, you'll see that start to flash as it starts to obtain an IP address over the wired network, and now we're online. Since we're online, we can go to Start, we can go to Settings, we can go to Windows Updates, and we can start checking for updates. Now, for many modern PCs, this is as far as you have to go. In many cases, it takes care of all the drivers, with the exception maybe of an AMD chipset driver and a modern updated AMD Adrenalin graphics driver. Or in the case of Intel, the Intel chipset driver, sometimes it provides it, but it may be a little bit out of date. So I would still go to AMD rather than the device manufacturer if this were an AMD-based CPU. And I would get that AMD graphics driver and chipset driver. Because this is Intel, I would just go to Intel and download the chipset driver from Intel. And that's usually the end of your device manager journey in 2026 with a modern computer built within the last 3 or 4 years. Except when a manufacturer does what Beelink did here. This is like they went back in time before the advancements of things getting easier. They decided they liked it better when things were more complicated, I guess. What other reasoning would they have that makes any sense? They must have wanted to go back in time and say, you know, why enjoy this automated ease of use when we can have you reliant on us for help and then abandon you when you need us the most? I'm not sure how this plays out in their benefit at the end, but in my mind, it seems intentional. I don't know. So while we're waiting for that, there's a few things I like to change on my Windows installs just because we're waiting. I'll go down here, for example. Where am I? Here I am. And I will say to turn this on. I'll go to advanced options. There could be some drivers in here, and I see there are 5 optional updates. And I'm not even reading them. You take them all, okay? Just take them. And then under advanced again, I'm going to go back to, where did advanced go? Advanced options. And I'm going to turn this option on. I'm going to turn on this one. I'm going to turn on this one. And delivery optimization, I turn that off because the idea behind this is it can download Windows updates from other computers on your network that already have them instead of having to go get it itself, which is great if you're in an office and you have hundreds of computers. But for a home user, it actually, in my experience, potentially slows you down. So since you're never going to use it, just turn it off. Then I'm going to check my power settings. So I'll type edit power plan, and we're going to change this so the screen won't turn off for a couple hours. Computers going to sleep is for computers that have batteries. This computer has no battery. There's no justifiable logical reason to put it to sleep other than people being stubborn. And then here, choose what the power buttons do. I click on that, and I want the power, again, it should not be going to sleep. I want it to shut down as if I go to, you know, when I hit start and I hit shut down, I can do that by pressing the power button. It'll cycle, just press and release the power button, and it'll shut things down exactly the same way as using the start menu and the power icon. It's completely safe. It doesn't just shut the machine off unless you hold the power button down for about 10 seconds. That's like just unplugging it from the wall. That's not good. And then as far as the sleep button, I haven't seen a computer with a sleep button, so it doesn't really matter what I set this to, but my OCD says, have it do nothing. Save the changes. So that gives me something to do while I'm waiting for Windows updates to install. Once these updates are installed, we'll go ahead and reboot and check the device manager, see where we're at, and I'll show you how I move forward from there. In the meantime, let me say hello to everybody joining us in the chat room. And Arnold Albert says hello. John Williams. There's Mark Gaines, John P. and Eddie Casanova saying hello. Caniac 44 joining us from North Carolina. Ben Laird from Scotland. Sorry, there's a fly in here. It wants to be a star. Johnny Jackwin says hello. There's Bradley Morris and George Korea saying hello from Puerto Rico. It's a Perfect Dork says hello. He says, I got a Beelink SEQ5. I couldn't find any drivers. I thought Miniswarm was bad for support drivers for the NAV7. I'll keep using it until it stops or catches fire. Now, see, I haven't had any problems with drivers for Miniswarm. In fact, I would be hard-pressed to tell you I've had issues with any manufacturer's drivers that has a working website. So the biggest issue is Beelink's website doesn't work. And when I say website, it's not like they only have one. They've got an American website, a Chinese website. Flat across the board, none of them work. They're in a broken state. And if you can work with a broken website, you might be able to dig down in there with enough tech savvy to find what you're looking for. But don't be surprised if it's incomplete. Now, if you need anything specific for your SEQ5 or your NAV7, I'm happy to help you. But I'm not aware of there being any driver issues on the NAVs, on any Miniswarm, quite frankly. So I think I'd have to have a better understanding of what you're interpreting and verify if what you're seeing is accurate. Because we did have an NAV7 and we did a clean install. We had no driver problem. So I'm lost with that. The SEQ5, is it an SER5? That one I can't remember. But ultimately, if we did have one, it wasn't a big issue like this. This is unprecedented from Beelink. We've never seen anything this bad from any manufacturer until now. Cliff mentions using a Snappy Driver Installer. I don't know if Snappy Driver Installer would find this driver. However, it might, and that's a big download. I don't want to download a 30 gig driver installer. So unless they've changed things and you don't have to like BitTorrent for 3 days to get the darn thing and figure out a 2 terabyte drive to put it on, I'm not sure. It very well might. But I don't like to use driver installers. I feel like a driver installer is something we used 10 years ago, and we should let that go. Now, it's quite possible that that still works well today, and it might solve this problem if I already had it. Overall, I don't recommend driver installers other than what's provided by the manufacturer or the manufacturer of that individual piece of hardware, because that's how you're going to get viruses. The best thing I could advise you is stay away from any third-party driver support. Now, that being said, it's not that Snappy Driver Installer necessarily causes problems, but it's massive, it's unwieldy. There's so many drivers over so many years. And if you download all of them, I don't know what the total size is, but you have to BitTorrent it, and it may exceed, you may not realize, but you may have a data cap, a monthly data cap on your ISP. And if you exceed that, those are going to send you a bill. So that could end up costing you quite a bit of money. And I know there's a lighter version of Snappy Driver Installer, and I don't know if the light version will go out online to a database and look, because it used to not work that way. Or if it just contains the most commonly used drivers, because there's nothing common about this driver. That's part of the problem. So I have, how can I explain this? The Snappy Driver Installer was a great tool, but there's better, more efficient tools that are easier to use, that are official and more updated than Snappy Driver Installer from the manufacturers, you know, that are paid to do it, not a volunteer group that kind of does it when they feel like it, which is what I understand Snappy and Driver is, just kind of a community thing, and you're sort of relying on the community to get off their butt and do something. And it was a good tool. I haven't used it in years, and I like to move forward. I don't want to go backwards, because even if it was helpful this time, it'll probably be the last time. I don't anticipate Snappy Driver Installer is going to make a comeback. More than likely, what's going to happen is everything's going to be provided by Windows Update, or the companies themselves are going to do a better job of providing drivers and support than what we're seeing with Beelink here. So this is an exception. This is not normal from any PC manufacturer, and that's why I'm making a video about it. And since it's not normal, and since it's an exception, would Snappy Driver Installer also then be an exception? Potentially, but I'm not going to do it that way, because I absolutely refuse to go backwards. To me, you're staying in the past if you continue to use that tool. And you're welcome to. You're not doing anything wrong. But for me, I see that as a big red flag that I am moving my career in the wrong direction. I need to stay ahead of it. I don't need to get further behind. If you don't have a career, or you do, and this just works for you, that's great. Keep doing what you're doing. It doesn't work for me, and I'm going to continue to advance my knowledge and learn better alternative ways than that old school brute force method, which is, it gets the job done, but it's sloppy. It's really sloppy the way it works. So, you know, let's just look through 10,000 drivers and figure out which one it is. Yeah, that's one way to do it. It's a brute force, and it'll get the job done. But it's like fixing something with a hammer. I'm not a fan. Okay, but I don't have anything against it. You know, when brute force was a modern solution, it was great. But today, brute force is kind of like, I kind of see it like, you don't know how something goes together, so you just keep mashing it and mashing it and mashing it until eventually it clicks in. It's like caveman solution. It's not refined and purposeful, in the sense that if we get the driver we need, it's a tiny little download. It takes a few seconds. It's not some massive Snappy Driver Installer searching through a database of, you know, 10,000 is nothing. It's probably 100,000 drivers or something. And then you sit there and you wait while it just hammers through it. It's brutal. It's brutal. But yeah, it might get the job done. Yeah. It's just not the way I want to work. Okay, back to the chat. Gary Tatum says hello. There's Patrick, Manny, and Alan with a Y saying hello. Welcome in. I also see, of course, Frankie B joining us. Good to see you, Frankie. Frankie gave us a very generous Amazon gift card during yesterday's show, and I ordered 2 bare bones mini PCs. So we got some more content coming. Shout out and a thank you to Frankie B. Also to Andy. Andy's helping us out too. And with the combination of the 2 of them, we're able to get a couple of new models. The one, at least one of them is a brand I've never heard of before. And the other one would be the GMK Tech M8, which I think looks like a really good deal right now. And we'll evaluate those in the week ahead, or the next 2 weeks ahead. And I ordered them bare bones because I have plenty of RAM and storage here. And so basically, the price gets cut in half for these mini PCs. I get 2 for the price of 1, because they're not coming with an operating system, a storage drive, or RAM. And it gives me something to do with the storage drives and RAM I have here. So I'm really grateful for the community's support like that, and that we can continue to reinvest that back into the channel and continue to make more content. And then maybe those units, maybe we sell them on eBay. We'll sell them at a loss, because otherwise people won't buy them. And then whatever we get, hopefully that's enough to go buy another one. We could return things back to Amazon, but I don't want to jeopardize my Amazon account to just buy something, make a video with it, and return it. Something that, $300, $400. I could do it, and Amazon will allow it until they won't. I don't know where the line is. So I'd rather play it safe, take the loss, use that money, buy something else. But you can see that's a downward spiral until there's just no money left. But it keeps us alive another day. It gives us more content that we're not relying on a manufacturer to work with us. Thank goodness we're not obligated to Beelink. We bought this with channel funds. We bought it off eBay. And we did that because we have supporters here. Otherwise, we don't need the supporters, and we can just represent Beelink and tell you all kinds of great things and basically omit a bunch of information on purpose that we don't want you to know about. And then I get a nice fat check from a company to do that. Not necessarily, I'm not saying Beelink ever made that offer, but that's usually the way most YouTube tech content is made. This is a big corporation writing a big fat check. I'm getting a much smaller check because we're being supported by the community, but I'm grateful that even a small portion of the community supports us here, so we can do just what we're doing here that others can't do, because then they wouldn't get paid. That's why other people don't make content like this. Not on this platform. So that's how it works if you're curious why other people don't do this. Yeah, Supreme Nerd said Snappy driver installer was once riddled with viruses. Well, that's a problem with third-party driver installers, is they might be clean one day and then you have a problem another day, and especially when it's community-driven. Not everybody's well-meaning in the community. Some people are there to destroy it. They just want to see it burn. So again, you can do that if you want to. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I won't do and why I won't do it. And I'm not using Snappy driver installer. I'm not sucking on a pacifier anymore. I'm not wearing diapers anymore. I've left that behind a long time ago. I don't have like a security blanket or anything like that. I'm trying to force myself to keep up with the times, and going back to doing things the old way does not align with my goals. And that's a slippery path. Once you go down that path, it's pretty easy to be a little frustrated in how far back you get, that you have more catching up to do later, because you let yourself solve the problem today, but now the technology keeps advancing without you. And then when you try and jump ahead, it grows further from you the more you stay behind, and it gets more discouraging to try and catch up. And things stop making sense because you're stuck in the old ways that the new ways are so foreign. A lot of people will just choose to give up and say, well, I guess it's passed me by. I'm so afraid of that happening to me. Like, that's the worst possible thing, that I need to, for myself and my personality, I need to always be right up as close as I can get to whatever a customer might bring me. That's a modern computer. I can fix it, instead of go, oh no. It's okay to not know, but you've got to understand the right diagnostic techniques and the ways that we find the solutions, rather than just downloading a piece of software to do it for you. Eventually, that's probably what it's going to come down to. But I want to hold on to my brain and its ability as long as possible before I start letting technology solve all my problems and I become stupider. Is that a word? Stupider? It's already happening. So once this download finishes, these updates finish, we'll reboot and we'll go back and see what drivers are still missing. And eventually we'll get down to those two drivers that are impossible to find. Unless you start thinking outside of the box and you start using advanced diagnostic techniques. You're not going to find them any other way. I challenge you. Mr. BCA said he's used Snappy Driver Installer on multiple client devices. Yeah. And maybe you eat food off the floor and you're perfectly fine. I'm not telling you not to. And I'm not asking for your approval in the way that I do it. If you want to start a YouTube video, you're welcome to, and you want to show people how you use Snappy Driver Installer. And then I can come into your chat room and tell you I don't use it and I haven't used it for years and I don't know why you still need it. I'd be interested to see what your response is in a live video. Let's flip it the other way and see how you would respond. I don't care what you do. You can use it all you want. I'm not here to tell you that. And I'm not here for you to approve my process. I work a real business and I have real customers. And this is a real computer that we paid for that exhibits a symptom that's unlike what we would expect from a company like Beelink, who has basically abandoned it and denied it ever existed. As far as like, go online, do whatever search you want, and look for an SEi14 using the Ultra 5 CPU. Right? Isn't that what this is, an Ultra 5? It doesn't exist. Find the Beelink marketing materials from last year that promoted this unit. Go find them. Show them to me. Good luck. Why would a company bury something? What are they hiding? Or is it just incompetence? I don't know. If they won't tell you, it's just, you're just left up to your imagination. And if they want to leave it up to my imagination, I'm going to think the worst. I'm going to think this company's going out of business and they're in trouble. So unless they reassure us that they're going to fix this and make it better, as long as they stay quiet and they start like erasing their own history from just last year, just removing it from the web, I am left to conclude, based on their lack of transparency, apparently they want me to just promote rumor and hearsay because they won't correct it. So I think they're going out of business. I don't want them to go out of business, but I think that's what's happening. So unless I hear from them and they make, they give us an excuse for this and explain why all this has been hidden, the websites don't work, the drivers are missing, from their driver pack, their image, their reinstall image doesn't work. It's called firmware for some reason. They don't even know what the words mean. Their support doesn't know what the drivers are. You tell them, this is what's in my device manager on a clean install on your product, and they're like, did you plug in a camera? No, I didn't plug in a camera. This is your device manager. I'm asking you the questions. What are you doing asking me? You're supposed to know this. I'm not talking to a random stranger on Reddit. You're supposed to represent the products your company makes. How could you not know? So I want answers to this. I want an explanation, and I'm probably not going to get it. So therefore, I am left only to my imagination, and if that's what they want, well, here's what it is. It seems they're going out of business and they're not going to be around much longer. And unless that's corrected, I'm just as right as I'm wrong. We'll just have to wait and see. This is what happens when a company wants to go silent. It's going to let the imaginations of customers wander, and their customer confidence is going to go right down into the toilet. So if they weren't going out of business, if they don't self-correct, their ship is sinking. And I don't know how much more time it's got before it's completely capsized. Let's try to get that word. Submerged? Capsized. Mr. BCA said, I run a real business too. Yeah, and I'm sure you do a lot of things different in your business that I don't do in mine. What is your point? I don't understand. Are you looking for my approval? Is it really important to you that I pat you on the head and say, you're a good boy? Listen, you run your business however you want. I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm here to tell my audience how I run my business. If you don't like it, this isn't right for you. I'm not here. Maybe a misunderstanding in what you think this video is. I'm here to share my knowledge with you. If you feel you already have better knowledge, there's no reason for you to be here. If you feel like you want an opportunity to learn and you want a different perspective, you're in the right place. If you want somebody to agree with you or to give you their approval, that's not my job. That's not what this is for. This is for educative purposes for people who want to be educated. This isn't to tell people what to do. It's to tell people what I do. And I don't know why that's such a hard concept for so many viewers that we see in the public. They just can't seem to wrap their mind around the concept that I'm simply sharing with you information most businesses don't share. And because when you expose all that, you're inviting competitors. If they can see how you do your job and they know what you're charging, then they can essentially offer the same service and compete against you and put you out of business. So most of what I'm telling you, most business owners won't tell you. But I'm not here to compare my business to yours. I don't really care. If your business does well, I'm not going to pay my rent any more or any less. It has no role in me whatsoever. And the way I run my business has absolutely no effect on yours. So let's respect each other's processes. And I very much look forward to seeing your YouTube videos when you decide to make your own videos and share your knowledge about your business. Because the fact that you don't is a big red flag for me. Anybody can say anything. Prove it. So if you're not willing to do that, then I'm not willing to really take anything seriously from somebody who, you know, likes to make claims but can't back them up. So with that, that's why I do what I do. I show live, I back up everything I'm saying, you can see it. There's no edits, it's unscripted, everything is real and transparent. And if you can't value that, pretty much any other YouTube channel is probably what you're looking for, more of a commercial. So I'm not AI, I'm not here to be your sycophant, I'm not here to just nod my head and agree with you. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to share how I solve problems, how I run my business. If you don't benefit from that, it's not going to change. This is what I've been doing a long time. But if you're on board with it, then welcome in. You know, please join us. But please get the concept of the video. Otherwise, we're going to run into some what's the word I want? Complete fundamental misunderstandings of the purpose. So let's go back over to this computer. Let's restart it. I'm just biding my time waiting for this thing to update, by the way. So I appreciate you giving me some fodder to talk about while we're waiting. This is all filmed in real time. No edits, no scripting. Everything you see is real. I'm not just typing in a chat room making claims. I am proving it. When you're willing to prove it, I want to see it. If you want to play this game, then let's play by the same rules. Sam Lazar says, what I hate about OEMs is when they block any hardware except for their own. Like the MediaTek Wi-Fi is horrible in my Asus ProArt P16. No, I agree with you on that. It's MediaTek not providing drivers really frustrates me, as well as sometimes, like we've seen Ace Magic have their own proprietary firmware in their embedded NVIDIA graphics cards. So these are like expensive computers that Ace Magic makes as flagship models. And you just can't download the NVIDIA driver, it won't work. NVIDIA will say, we don't support, you need to go to your manufacturer. Now, luckily, there are workarounds for it. You have to like recode part of the installer. But it's definitely not a supported process. And Ace Magic only came out with one driver update that I'm aware of. So if you don't know this process, you're going to just be left behind with the latest NVIDIA drivers. Why can't they just leave it alone and just let that fall on NVIDIA? They just made it harder on themselves. They made it harder on their customer. MediaTek's doing the same thing. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, it's frustrating, the vendor lock stuff. This ain't Apple. But we do vote with our dollars. Nobody forced you to buy that. Nobody forces you to keep it. If you choose to keep it, that's on you. If you didn't know, you had an opportunity to replace it, to return it, and you decided not to. So it's tough to blame the company for the decisions that you made. Once you figured it out, once you learned it, presumably you learned it pretty quickly, certainly within the first 30 days, and yet you chose to keep it anyway. So long as people do that, the companies are going to keep doing what they're doing. It's when you hit them in their pocketbooks, because they're doing that, that's when we'll start to see the change. Just so you know, to complain about something that you're keeping, you got to pick one or the other. Either get rid of it if you don't like it, or keep it, and obviously there's more you like about it than dislike about it, and you're willing to take the pros and the cons together and say, okay, it could be better, but it's good enough. Which is, a lot better than just blaming the manufacturer because they do something you don't like, but yet you bought it anyway. It's like eating at a restaurant where you hate the food, but then you eat it. And you clean the plate, and the waitress comes by and says, how was your meal? And you've got a completely licked clean plate, and you're like, it wasn't very good. The hell it wasn't. Your plate says otherwise. But, that's just my view on it. Let's take a look at our desktop now that we've gone through that first round of updates. It looks like we've got a video driver now because it appears we're in 4K mode, and I need to drop that to 1080 so I can see it. So we're going to go to display settings, and we're going to change this to display settings. That's better. Change that to 1920 by 1080 and keep the changes. Very good. Over to the device manager. Let's see what, if any, drivers we have left that Windows Update did not provide. So we were at 9 before, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so these first two. This one says ISP camera device. Okay, we're going to talk about that. These two go together. These are the two you will not be able to find the driver for. Now, I have figured it out, and I have provided the link. Beelink has not been able to figure this out. Most Beelink customers cannot figure this out. And there's no other Beelink device they make that I understand has this. So, you're on your own. Now, the SM bus controller, that's going to be part of our chipset. So if we just install the Intel chipset, we can go, let's just abandon Beelink for support. Because they abandon us, let's abandon them. If they don't want to be relied upon, then let's not rely on them. Because I'll tell you right now, when we find the Beelink drivers, so let's say, I guess I might as well demonstrate it. If we type in Beelink SEi14 driver download, this first link goes to beelink.com, right? It says product title 1, product title 10, product title 11. This is all just a template that nobody could be bothered to fill out. That's how lazy or incompetent they are. So we come over to this side and say, well, what's the series? The series is SEi. So we have GTR, EQ, SER, EQ, SER, EQ. Then there's a second page. I'm looking for SEi. There is no such product. It doesn't exist. Okay, let's go back. Like finding drivers from a major manufacturer shouldn't be any harder than your first link. This takes us to a blog post where somebody is collecting drivers because Beelink is so terrible that they've decided to work for Beelink for free, to pay for this domain and to do the labor. But unfortunately, because they're not getting paid, this is the little thing they do whenever they're in the mood. So they have a very small, limited number of drivers. So we're looking for the SEi14. There's an SEi8 and a 10. SER4, but I need SEi. That's it. Nothing. And most of these, some of these rather, they say coming soon. That means whenever this person decides they want to continue to work for Beelink for free, because Beelink won't do their job. And if this one person can do this just for fun, then why can't a paid employee at Beelink do this? It obviously wasn't that difficult for them. So let's keep looking. Where can we find the darn driver? SER series driver. No, BBS is the forums at Beelink where customers can complain about their problems. And then supposedly qualified Beelink technicians respond, but they seem to not know anything about their own products. And you can read through this for yourself and come to your own conclusions, and I encourage you to just don't take my word for it. You decide if it's good enough, because I'm saying it's definitely not even close to good enough. And what I'm looking for is the driver for the SEi14, and I don't know what we're talking about here, but it's definitely not what I asked for. So eventually we can find it. If you keep searching for it, you can find it. Or I can just go to Intel and just download the damn chipset driver. What we ended up doing, we were able to find Beelink's support site broken and to put the link directly to the driver in the video notes below Friday's video, so people don't have to repeat what I'm showing you. And you know, Beelink SEi14 driver download, that's what we're looking for, and we're just not getting anything related. Like, we're already on page 2. If it didn't show up in page 1, right? And maybe if we can look on a Reddit forum, maybe somebody there discussed it. SEi series driver and BIOS download. All right, let me go back to that. Maybe I skipped through it too quick. Does he have a link in here? Please update the graphics drivers. Okay, so which? That's an SEi8. We don't have an 8. We have a 4. What did I say this was? 14. SEi14. Oh boy. Oh boy. Driver downloads. What's this? Something in Hong Kong. What's this for? I'm having a 403 when I try for my mini Beelink S12. That's not us. Okay, this is just an exercise in frustration. And the point I'm trying to get to here is it shouldn't be this difficult in a company this big to find something, let alone even find any acknowledgement they ever made this product. And they only did this last year. This product was only out last year, and it's already like they're pretending it never happened. So what I'm going to do, first and foremost, is I'm going to grab the Intel chipset driver. Now watch how fast this is for me. Intel chipset driver, click. Select your product, Intel chipset software installation utility, click. Download, click. It shouldn't be any different than this. This isn't rocket science. It's not a big download. I don't have to download a whole system image for a 100 meg driver. Click it and install it. It's coming directly from Intel, not a third-party driver utility that you're trusting. This comes directly from the chipset manufacturer. See the difference? Agree to their license agreement. Next, next, and install. Then this is going to want to reboot, and we're going to check our device manager again and see what is remaining. There's so much different about resolving this issue than how I would have, well, I wouldn't have had this issue to resolve in years past. And that's about, you know, again, keeping up with the technology. So let's restart, even though it didn't ask us to, and let's see if that makes any difference in the device manager and what's remaining. You know, we did get the network card, right? And I never did unplug the USB. So let's make sure we've got the network card driver loaded, and then I can get rid of the USB adapter and just plug the Ethernet cable right into the back of the PC, and we're making progress, and we're doing everything official. We're not taking any third-party trust. You know, that's the kind of stuff in the real world in corporate America, if you work in IT, that's the kind of thing, you know, third-party drivers being unauthorized on the system that could jeopardize the entire corporation and likely your career. So I don't treat small businesses any differently. If that kind of care and concern is taken with a multi-million-dollar corporation, I treat the person running a business out of their house with that same concern, the same security concerns and the same authorization concerns regarding integrity and trust within the software and the drivers we're installing on the system. Nothing less. I will not do it. I will not participate. So let's go back to the device manager now, and let's see what we've got left. So you see that SM bus controller is gone. We have an unknown device, a PCI device, the multimedia controller, the ISP, but you notice the network driver, that was resolved with Windows updates. If we go to network adapters, we should see the Intel 2.5 gig LAN and the Wi-Fi 6. This Realtek Gaming is my USB network interface card. So I'm going to unplug that now and just plug this right into the back of the PC. And then that will talk to the router, negotiate an IP address, and we'll be back online in a few seconds when it does that. I'm probably covering up that corner so you can't see the icon flashing, but it's solid now. So we have these other drivers. So what are these? This PCIe device and this unknown device. What we can do, there may be like the sound card software that we have to get from Beelink. So what I could do, because we've already done the work for you, is I can go to YouTube, right? And I can pull up my video from Friday. And here it is. We'll pause there and scroll down and go to, let's see, click more, and we're going to see these video notes, right? And it's the note I made about these missing drivers. This is your spoiler alert, which we're going to get to that. But where are just the regular drivers? Right here it says, see the SEi14 now is an Ultra 9 185H. They don't show the Ultra 5. It doesn't exist anymore. So these drivers don't help us. But somehow we found this dr.beelink b-link.cn, this Chinese website. And you notice how it says username and password, like it's locked out and you need authority to get in here. But all we do is refresh the page and refresh it again one more time. And all of a sudden, everything works. I mean, come on, what are they, 6 years old? They can't figure out how to make a website load? This folder that says driver, you see there's a tutorial, which is completely useless, for setting up the RAID array and the RAID driver. We're not dealing with RAID, not even going to cross that bridge. Because this has 2 NVMe slots, you could pair them up in a RAID 1 or RAID 0. We're not doing it, but that's where you would find the drivers. If you could find this link, and if you could figure out how to get past the login and password. That's a lot of ifs. But this right here, this SEi14.zip, it's 2.31 gigs. It should be closer to about 5 gigs. So it frightens me that it's that small. That already tells you you're missing drivers. Let's go ahead and download this. I think I just click once on it, and you'll see it starts to download in the top right corner. Because I want to try and do this as officially as I can, to show you that even when you do everything the way they tell you to, it still doesn't work. It's not complete. And they're going to ask you what step you didn't follow, instead of admitting they screwed up or even verifying, taking a few minutes to verify what you're saying. They can't be bothered. If they were bothered, they'd have fixed it. So that's going to take a minute. We're going to download that, extract it. We're going to look at it. We're going to go through the 10 drivers that are in there. There should be 11. And that 11th driver is a weird one. And I'm saying it's impossible to find. It isn't, but for most people it will be. And I'm going to show you exactly why. Craig wants me to recheck Windows Update. Yep, that's a good idea as well. Mara's asking if you're finding the driver links for this unit, please email the link to our channel email address, because we can't post links in the chat room. It invites spam and all kinds of problems. So email it to us. And Bruce said he did. Thank you, Bruce. And we'll take a look at that. Is that different than what I showed? Philip asks if we still have the cat. I think the question should be, does the cat still have us? This cat won't leave. You open the front door, and that cat will sit at the threshold and look out. She ain't going outside. It's funny to me. This cat will never run away. This cat ain't going nowhere. I guess that's the good thing about a stray cat, right? They were sleeping outside trying to figure out what they were going to eat that day, what trash can they were going to... I don't know what a cat in the wild eats, but somehow they got to figure it out every day, dealing with the hot days, enemies trying to attack it. They come inside and it's temperature controlled, it's warm, it's safe, it's dry, and they're being fed. There's an appreciation that perhaps a cat that had never been wild, there's a gratitude to that the cat knows the difference. I think if you get a cat as a kitten and you raise it in your house, it doesn't know any better, and you're like, why is my cat a jerk? Well, number one, it's a jerk, it's a cat. But number two is it may not know or have appreciation for being fed and having shelter and safety. This cat and many stray animals, not all, some stray animals have been stray that it's mentally sort of PTSD for them, and they're never comfortable no matter what. If they've been out too long, there's no changing them. But if you get them at the right time where they're like, what is this place? She would barely not even put a foot in the house. She was very trepidatious and very cautious, and then she would, and then she'd look, and then she'd scatter back out again. So it took a while for her to even understand the concept of living indoors. And now that she's experienced it, she ain't going nowhere. I've tried to entice her back outside, just even for a couple hours. No, don't want to do it. Not interested in being outdoors anymore. So I think we're stuck, is what I'm trying to tell you. Whether we like it or not, I think we're stuck with a cat now. But she's a nice cat. Dennis says it's got to be rough being a feral cat in Phoenix. Well, and there's no shortage. I mean, feral cats are everywhere in Phoenix. If you want a free cat, just come to Phoenix. They're everywhere. Just pick one up and take it home. So I want to, before I check for Windows updates, well, I guess I can do it while we're waiting. I was going to say I want to wait for this to download, but we can do two things at the same time. So let's just go ahead and check Windows updates and see what else. See what else is out there. So these that we're retrying, these failed, but they likely failed because they were already installing in the background, so it was trying to put them in twice. If they try again, that's a different story, but if they don't come up again, that means that another copy in the background was running and we didn't know that. Just the automated updates were running behind the scenes. And then we did a manual update and started duplicating some of the updates. And those duplications, where one happened first and completed before the second one started, then the second one fails. So it's already been done. Unfortunately, they don't tell you that here. But we'll figure it out if it reoffers the same updates again. So there's a Realtek driver. I don't think we have anything Realtek, do we? Just the USB adapter I've removed. And then an antivirus update, that's all there is. And if we go under advanced just to see if there's other drivers or anything, oops, not update history. Advanced, just see if there's any available. It says 0. So we're caught up on Windows Update, that's all there is. And as for our download here, just about done. Looks like it wants about a minute to finish this, so not exactly the fastest server, but just the fact that we have drivers to download, even if they're not all there, something is better than nothing, but profoundly unprofessional, sloppy. There's so many competitors in the mini PC space. How do you choose Minisforum over Beelink, over Ace Magic, over Camrui, over Paladin, over Bmax, over Gertoli, over, you know, who else? Camrui, Nipogi, Riatin. And I would say, well, price is going to be a big motivator, but then also quality of the build, availability, how long it's going to take you to get it. You know, is this something, if I order it, I'm going to get it tomorrow, like on Amazon? Or do I have to wait 3 weeks, like on AliExpress? And then what kind of support? If I need support, am I going to get it? So what argument has Beelink got if they're not the lowest price, they don't have good support, you're not going to get it quickly? Why would you even put it in the running? Like, why would you buy it? Some sort of emotional tie to them when they don't share one back to you? That seems like a one-sided relationship. Let me open this zip file and extract its contents, and I'll show you what's in there. We can close the browser. Close that window as well. So if we do everything the way Beelink tells us to do it, assuming you could even locate the Beelink drivers, it's still not going to work. Watch. So we go here. There's a subfolder here called driver, and you see how these are all numbered? So let's sort them by name, and you start with the chipset driver. So let's install their chipset driver, which is probably older than the one we got, right? Because I don't want anybody to assume that we missed something. I want to be very thorough in this so you come to the exact same conclusion that I'm going to show you.
So you have the email, but it looks like it's the...
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, Intel, whatever this is, let's run installers. Boy, this is not confusing at all. Set up the management engine. Okay. That one. Next. 3. Okay. And then, no, and then. Who knows that movie? Serial I/O driver. Set up serial I/O. Yes. Next. Accept. All this is pretty routine and normal so far. So we were at what, number 3? We go to number 4 next. 4 says VGA. What is VGA? Apparently they mean GPU, because I don't know. I know what VGA was in 1993, maybe through 1999. But I think they meant to say G. I hope so. This is going to be the Intel Arc graphics driver. This will be an older driver, but just to be thorough, we're going to just do everything Beelink provides for us. And you'll see firsthand, undoubtedly unscripted, fully transparent, in real time, that it is incomplete and leaves us hanging with no answers. Click yes. And the graphics driver is a pretty big driver. It'll take a minute to install. And while that's working, just out of curiosity, let me look in the device manager and see if we've removed any of those items so far. Okay, we've removed one item. We've got these two. These are not going to go away. We're going to do all 10 of the drivers, and these first two, ISP camera device. Imagine the shock I feel when somebody says, hey, I have this ISP camera device, and the Beelink support in the forums goes, did you plug a camera in? What are you, a complete moron? What are you talking about? I'm talking about your device manager on your hardware that you sell, that you don't provide the driver for the ISP camera device. And they're like, but we don't have a camera on it. Is there somebody else I can talk to? I thought I was talking to somebody who knew what they were doing. That's my bad. All right, begin installation. Something's not right. A newer driver is already installed. Do you want to force? Sure, why not? Let's just use their driver. I'm declining the customer experience monitoring. You can participate if you want to. I'm just not interested. Now, well, that installs. What's the next one? What's number 5? And number 5 is the neural processing unit. So that'll be on newer Intel and AMD CPUs. This isn't something you ever worked with 15 years ago or even 5 years ago. That's why we continue to just keep berating how important it is to keep up with your education if you want to keep up with the technology. And it does appear, do we have any setup in here? An executable file? About the firmware, I don't know how that. Really no documentation here. It says there's a binary in here. No, those are all DLLs. Well, you can see the screen blanking out. That means the video driver is being replaced right now. And when the video driver is replaced, the screen will come back on. Yeah, so I don't see any executable file in here, like a setup or an install. It just looks like something has to be put in manually. Number 6, PMT, Intel Platform Monitoring. Is that got, no, that's also got no executable. That's fine. And number 7 is what? That's going to be our audio drivers and software. So if you just put the audio software in, you don't get any of the customized software for the controlling of the audio of the specific audio chip you have. So something like Snappy Driver Installer, for example, or a third-party driver installer may give you the drivers so the audio works, but not necessarily the software, which you may not even want, right? But if you wanted to put it back the way it came from the factory, it would have had that software put on by the manufacturer. And I want the software. I'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So sometimes the driver and the software are bundled together in an installation package. And that's how you're going to get both. But quite often you can't just get the software. By putting the software in, you're also putting in the driver. So if you would already replace the driver with a third-party driver utility, then you wasted your time because you're just going to overwrite that when you put the software on, which is where you should have started with, right? You would have gotten it done right the first time. But, you know, maybe Snappy Driver Installer does provide the sound card software on some of their drivers. I don't know. And I don't know that they'll be the latest version. And I don't know that they're not virus infected or manipulated in some way because it's a third party I have no control over. This wants a reboot. Let's go ahead and let that reboot. And then once we restart, we're going to continue going through the rest of these driver installs. And the drivers that don't have any executable install or setup file, then we're going to go into Device Manager and load those manually, and we'll cover it. And when we're all said and done, we're going to have 2 items that don't exist, the drivers don't exist for, as far as the internet is concerned overall. Like all the traditional ways you would use Google, or you would use whatever you use to search, they're not going to find you this answer. You have to use another way. You have to use a more modern way, and that's using AI. And AI is only getting better. If it's doing this today better than an employee at Beelink, and it's doing it faster and more accurately, what do you think it's going to be like next year? So let's continue where we left off, which is back over to the drivers. Oh, and let's take another look at Device Manager, see if anything's changed. We had 3 items before. We still have 3 items now. Okay, so let's go back to downloads and folder for the drivers. We were at number 7. So this will put in our audio software and drivers. At this point, Beelink's doing a fine job. I mean, they could make this better by having one unified way to put all the drivers in. I can install that bat that runs through the setups and runs through the INFs, but they don't do that. Some other manufacturers do. Give that a second to finish. And there's the software now that we would not have had any other way. Let's go ahead and restart the computer again. And it's not uncommon to have to restart the computer after every driver update. So just be glad we're not having to do it for all 10. The fact that we had to do it for the graphics card, and we had to do it for the sound card. And then what was this last one? I think we've done 3 reboots out of 5 or 6 driver installs. That's not too terrible. And of course, the Wi-Fi driver and the Bluetooth driver, we already have those. They came in automatically through Windows through the Windows installer. It was fine. It installed those drivers. But again, just to make sure we can get rid of your what-if imaginations, we're going to go through every single one of these so we can eliminate and have you accept the fact that this driver is not existent in their driver pack. Now, the Intel Driver and Support Assistant automatically installed. That's pretty interesting. We're going to come back to this because this will be the same drivers but newer versions than what we're getting from Beelink. Okay, so we'll come back to that. But that's the NPU driver, and the new graphics driver, and the new Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So before I put those in, let's finish putting in the old ones. Otherwise, we're just going to undo our work with the old ones if we do them second. So we'll go back in. Drivers. We're going to go down to wireless, double click. We're going to go through the install. Even though we already have this, we're going to use everything Beelink provides, even if it's outdated. Okay, that's the Wi-Fi driver. Then there'll be a Bluetooth driver. That's number 9. Do you want to upgrade from 24.10.0.4 to 23? So that's not an up. If we're going from 24 to a smaller number, that's a downgrade. But yeah, again, these are older drivers from Beelink. They're not keeping them up to date. Most manufacturers don't keep them up to date, so it's not uncommon, but it sure would be nice if they did. It would give you a reason to maybe pick their brand over their competitors when they start giving you a reason. So here we go, Bluetooth driver's done, and then that leads us to the last thing, which is the LAN driver, which we already installed through Windows Update. And what is this? Is this the executable? Let's double click it. Yeah, this runs WinZip. Okay, that's fine. Again, it's going to be an older driver. We're all good to go. Okay, so now when we look in the device manager, has anything changed? No. Probably this is the NPU. So if I double click on that and click Update Driver, browse my computer, and let's browse the Downloads folder. Right, that's the folder that has the drivers in it. And just let it look in there and see if it finds it. Well, it's found something. Intel AI Boost. So that'll be the NPU driver. Okay, great. Let's close out the device manager, reopen it. Now, as I told you earlier, we're going to have these two devices. And if we say, let's just add every possible driver we can, then just click anything in here, and this button appears right here that says Add Drivers. Add the drivers. We'll browse to our same folder and let it search the entire folder for all of those other installs that were just INFs. That's how you'll get those in there. So this will scour that entire driver folder that we downloaded, look for any INF information and driver information that does not have a setup or an executable, and just apply it to everything that that it can identify as hardware. So look at how many it's loading. What you notice, though, is it's loading drivers that it can't find devices for. So it's saying 0 devices, 0 devices, 0 devices. I'm adding this driver, but I can't associate it with any hardware on the system. So this isn't going to hurt anything, but it is adding a bit of unnecessary information into our registry, and perhaps moving the drivers into the System32 subdirectory of our Windows, just in case we add those devices in the future. This is like a one-size-fits-all kind of a driver solution, but everything says 0 devices. Do you see anywhere where a driver was actually applied for a device we have? Nope. So even though it's saying it successfully added it, it's not actually using it. It's just adding it for future use. So it shouldn't hurt anything, but it's very unnecessary. It might make you feel good. But at least that way we can say, okay, that is every single driver in that downloaded zip file from Beelink, and yet we're still stuck with ISP camera device and the multimedia controller. And search all you want. Use whatever search you want. You are not going to find that driver. It doesn't exist. So last night when I was kind of frustrated, I decided if the way I'm diagnosing isn't working, I need to change the way I diagnose. It's on me to evolve. I have to do it different. If you keep doing the same thing, you're always going to get the same response. So I have to change what I'm doing, find another way. So I pull out my phone and I bring up Grok, and I'm going to try and recreate this as best I can. And I'm going to have a conversation with Grok, and it's going to talk back to me, just like I'm talking to an actual human being who is responding to me pretty much in the same pause between, when I'm finished talking and it starts talking. Only it's going to be more accurate in this example. And well, let me just demonstrate. So I bring up the Grok app on my phone. You could use whatever AI you want. They all don't work alike. So if you're not getting the answers you want, try a different AI. Try ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, whatever. So I'm using Grok because it just really, to me, seems so much more superior than the others for the kind of information I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the speak button and I'm going to start talking to Grok, okay? I have a Beelink SEi14 Ultra 5 mini PC that has 2 device drivers that cannot be found. One is called ISP camera device, and the other is called multimedia controller. And Beelink doesn't seem to know what these are, nor does Beelink provide the driver. What can I do to resolve this issue?
These are both Intel components from your Core Ultra 5 processor. The ISP camera device is part of the Intel imaging signal processor, and the multimedia controller is tied to it too. Beelink doesn't supply a separate driver because it's baked into Intel's chipset and graphics packages. The easiest fix is to grab the full driver pack for your SEi14 Ultra 5 from Beelink's site. Go to b-link.com. Search for SEi14 or SEi-14 drivers, download the big zip, extract it, and run everything in order, especially chipset and graphics. Reboot after. If that doesn't clear the yellow exclamation marks, the cleanest solution is reinstalling Windows with Beelink's official image. Several users with the exact same devices on the SEi14 had both disappear after that. They provide the image and instructions on their forum. Want me to point you to the exact download page?
I've already tried and the image does not work, and the driver is not included from Intel's graphics driver or chipset driver. Is there another manufacturer of PC that uses the same CPU that I can get the driver from?
Try the Dell Intel 2D Imaging MCU as Visual Sensing Controller driver. Your Core Ultra 5 1250H uses the same imaging signal processor chip as Dell's Meteor Lake laptops, so their driver package installs the missing ISP camera device and multimedia controller entries. Download it here, dl.dell.com. Run the installer, reboot, and check Device Manager. Plenty of SEi14 owners have fixed exactly these two yellow exclamation marks with it. Let me know if it clears them up.
It did clear them up, thank you.
Awesome, glad that did the trick. Those Dell drivers are a lifesaver when the mini PC makers drop the ball. Anything else acting up on the Beelink?
No.
Cool, enjoy the little powerhouse. Hit me up if anything else pops up.
Can you tell me a joke?
Why did the computer go to therapy? Too many unresolved issues.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Take care.
You see how fast we got that answer? You see what I'm getting at? It's quick. So it provided me the link and all I had to do is tap on it and it downloaded it. I don't have to type the link in. Now what I did is I copied that and I pasted it into the video notes. So if we go to the video notes, come over here, we're going to go back to YouTube. We're going to go back to today's video. I'm going to scroll down. Let's just pause that before it gets confusing. We'll scroll down, we'll click on More, and this line right here, this came directly word for word from Rock. This is the link, I click on it. Now, it says be careful, the site may be harmful because it's actually not going to a web page, it's going to a file to download directly. So I know it's okay because it is an official Dell website, it's dell.com. I'm going to say go to site, and if you watch the top right corner, no site actually comes up. Instead, it starts downloading this very small 100 meg driver. That's it. Then I'm going to click Open File, click Yes, and Install. Now, it's seemingly disappeared, but just give it a minute. Look at what just happened. Intel image signal processor. It's still not done. It'll let us know. It'll pop up and it'll say the driver's installed. Just sit here. There it is. Dell update package. The update installer operation is successful. Close. Right click, Device Manager. Everything's happy. Beelink, was that so hard? You had one job. I laugh because otherwise I'd cry. Why would I even use Beelink support anymore? Grok's right there. Grok is faster. Grok is easier to understand. Grok speaks native English. I don't have to worry about an accent. I don't have to worry about Grok not understanding the problem. Grok knows the product better than Beelink's own employees knows the product. Grok gave me the solution that the employees don't know exists. And Grok did everything that a Beelink employee was supposed to do. It did it faster and more accurately without the frustration. And I'm telling you, this is the future. This is how you're going to get to solving your problems. You're going to need to stop talking to human beings because they're too unreliable, they're too emotional, there's too much exaggeration, hyperbole, and hearsay, where you can't separate fact from fiction, and people can be very difficult to deal with, difficult to understand, and frustrating. So the minute we can automate that with AI, which has a lot more patience, you can yell and scream at the AI and vent, and it doesn't retaliate against you the way a human would. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm all for it. Now, with regards to the activation issue, I just want to check something here. It looks like Beelink just submitted a bunch of bad product keys. I don't know where they acquired them. That must have been something sketchy, because apparently they worked for a while, and then maybe they got caught, and those keys were shut down, and now they're on the hook for replacing a bunch of product keys. Let's see, activation. Active, we're good. Okay, so thank goodness that's not another issue we have to worry about. Finally, we got to where we wanted to be. Now I can run the optimizer, put on VLC, and go through my normal process. But that's very different from any other mini PC rebuild, software rebuild I've ever shown you. You've never seen this problem before. I couldn't have taught this to you 15 years ago. It wasn't a problem. This technology did not exist 15 years ago. And what you did learn 15 years ago will not help you solve this. That's why I'm reiterating how important it is. If you want to consider yourself to be technically savvy, then you have to keep updating your knowledge. If you refuse to, and you think you've already learned it all, then you've learned all you can learn. And that's okay. Just call it what it is. Let's have enough self-awareness to say, I'm not going any further. But what I'm seeing online particularly are people who claim to have the latest knowledge and they don't. There's something they learned 10 years ago or 15 years or 20 years ago, and they think it still applies, and they'll fight you for it. That's why you're just better off talking to AI, because AI won't do that. Only another human being will do that. That is a very specific human behavior that is an issue with pride and ego, as well as denial and delusion. And not everybody does it, but it's so frustrating to deal with people like that. Whereas, at least with AI, it's not perfect, but neither are people. And I would, in this case, AI gave us the answer, and that gives me more confidence in AI to want to continue to explore it more in the future. And humans are giving us wrong, incomplete, inaccurate, missing, omitted answers, and that loses my faith and confidence into asking humans. So if this continues, we can just see those jobs go away, and they should have already gone away at this point, because I would have been better off without the nonsense from the human beings that just confused matters and made it worse. I would have rather Beelink offered nothing than doing what they're doing, because they're making it worse. So that's my opinion on it. And with AI, I think you're going to start seeing me using that more and more, where my experience no longer applies in solving problems like this. Today marks a new beginning and another level of evolution in how we go about diagnosing and repairing computers that goes beyond a Google search, which was an evolution from how we did it before, from actual hands-on experience and reading books. Now we're seeing it again. And maybe we'll see it again, and it's something else. Maybe these problems start fixing themselves and we don't have to even fix it anymore. You just tell it to fix itself. Maybe we'll see that in our lifetimes. And this whole, even my job gets replaced by AI. And good riddance, because if I don't have to do this anymore, if AI can do my job, I don't want that job. A number of years ago, I was in Oregon, And at the time, you were not allowed to pump your own gas in the state of Oregon. And I couldn't believe it. I can't, when I pull up to a gas station, I can't, no, you're not allowed. I've been pumping gas my whole life. I'd pump gas in my parents' car when I'm 8 years old. And suddenly now I'm not qualified, I'm dangerous. Pumping gas is too advanced to trust me to do it. But in the other 49 states, well, except New Jersey, part of New Jersey, you can pump your own gas if you want to. What's different at Oregon? Well, it creates jobs. The job to pump gas? Yeah. So if you're a heart surgeon and you don't get to the operating room in time, what happens to that patient? Well, they're probably going to have to call another heart surgeon, right? Well, let's hope the patient survives in the delay, right? But if you're pumping gas for a living and you don't show up to work, who else can do that job? Literally anyone. A child. So who cares? What's your motivation to get out of bed? That's the way I see it. If I know what I can do can be easily, anybody can easily do it, why am I bothering? Let somebody else do it. What can I bring unique to the table to justify my existence and to contribute to society beyond, you know, pushing a lawnmower, raking leaves? That's all really simplistic stuff. It doesn't require anything but getting off your butt. It doesn't require any special education. It doesn't require any special training, any certifications. It doesn't really involve any trust. Just physical labor, mindless physical labor. I'd like to rise above mindless physical labor. My grandfather had a career loading and unloading trains in Detroit. Back-breaking work. I don't want to do what my grandfather did. What a miserable thing to wake up to in the morning to go, I got to go to the train yard so I can continue to load and unload whatever he was unloading and loading on the trains. It's just mindless. There's no puzzle to figure out. It's not like he's gotten to Tetris this together. And they didn't have equipment like we have today. They did have some things to help them, but now everything's forklifts and automation, and you push buttons and it'll lift boxes and pallets and all of those stuff. All that had to be done by hand back in the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s. I think he retired in the 70s. Oh, that's back-breaking work. So, you know, he wasn't wealthy, wasn't getting paid well for it, but he had a job and he's paying his bills, and, you know, there's some nobility to at least that. So when AI comes for my job, as far as I'm concerned, it can have it. I'm not going to fight for it. Take it. I'll find something, some other thing I can do that AI can't do. A lot of services, like people will drive by a flooded street. I've been watching that drain cleaning Australia channel. And people will drive through a flooded parking lot, or the street in front of their house is flooded because there's material blocking the drain, the street drain, and nobody can get off their butt and clear it. They just live with the flood. And this guy will go out there and say, this is ridiculous, and he'll get a rake and he'll just start raking away at where the grate is. And all of a sudden you see the whirlpool and the water in the street comes down. It took one person to get off their butt and do something. And people can't be bothered today. Well, AI ain't going to do it for you. There's going to be certain jobs that a human being has to do. That's always going to be the case. And there's certain jobs where, you know, AI can take over and do it better, more consistently, never get tired, never give an attitude, and it can work 24/7 for pennies a day versus what you have to pay an employee with benefits and sick time and vacation, or the office space they need. AI doesn't need any office space by comparison. So there's a negative side to it as well. But, you know, if you need to take some medication to cure an ailment, and now as a result you have side effects, you might decide the side effects were worse than what it was you were trying to cure. Or you might decide, well, The side effects aren't pleasant, but they're still better than no medicine at all. That's for each of us to decide on our own. There's nothing more satisfying to me than to watch one of these advertisements on American television for a medication, and at the end they have all the disclaimers. May cause hair loss, may cause anal leakage, may cause early death. Okay, and this is for what now? Oh, it's a skin cream to clear up your eczema. Well, that's worth all of those. You know, I think I'll take the eczema. Skyrizy. Crazy world, man. Here, we can solve that problem, but we're going to give you a whole new slew of problems. Is that a deal I want to make, or just stick with the cards I know? That's for each of us to decide, and I think AI is similar in that way. There's going to be ways where you're like, oh, this is better. There's going to be things where it's worse. And that'll be the way of it, and such as it is. No matter how you feel about it, you're not going to stop it. So you might as well get on board, or at least know what to expect, what's coming. But here we've demonstrated real-time, unedited, unscripted, real-time conversation with AI. It was very easy. I don't have to, type into Google search certain keywords, change the word, try the search again until Google figures out, what I'm trying to get across. The AI, I just talk to it like I'm talking to another person. I can go on and prattle on and on and on. AI doesn't mind. It'll sit there patiently until I'm done talking, figure out what I'm trying to get to. Google search can't do that. So, I mean, Google search is great if it works, but the minute it's not working, like trying to find this driver, Google search was worthless, completely worthless. Grok, I asked two things. The first thing, it answered me. I told it that answer doesn't apply. I've already tried all that. The second solution, again, I was saying, hey, is there another manufacturer whom I can get the driver from? Right? So I was pretty clear on that. If I ask that same question to Google, I don't get that answer. I'm still left kind of in this abyss of information that's irrelevant. So you take from that whatever you want. But I'm very grateful for it. And Craig wants to know, is there anything left to grab from Windows Update now that we've got all the drivers? Probably not, but we can check. It won't hurt. And then we can also do the Intel driver update installer to get the newer GPU, NPU, and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth drivers. Even though they're working, there are new drivers and they're free from Intel, not a third-party manufacturer. So let's go, first of all, let me go full screen over here. That way I can see my screen, and we'll hit Windows Update, which is, why am I so confused? Settings, settings. Right, Windows Update, and we'll run the check here. It should come up clean and say we're all current. So we'll give that a second, and then I'll run the driver update tool after that. Yep, everything's up to date. Even under advanced, we'll see 0 down here. Yep, everything's cool. Now I have to get rid of camera 1 to show you the bottom right corner, because that's where the Windows Update tool is hiding. So go down here, and there's the red dot. And I like that I didn't have to install the driver and support assistant. Normally I go and get that manually. We have to allow it to read our system to determine what is out of date. So you want to allow that pop-up. Hit download all, and we're going to get the new NPU driver. We're going to get the new graphics driver, and we're going to get the new Wi-Fi driver. And apparently this must have come in from one of the older drivers. So even this tool itself is updated. So we can update the update tool right here with update now. And then it downloads an executable that will launch and install. It's a pretty small little file here. And when it installs, it should, I think, open another tab. Then it gets confusing. Because you're like, which tab is the new one? So let's just close this to prevent that confusion, let it finish installing, and I think when it's done, it will reopen the browser. I think it's done, but it hasn't done anything. No, it's not done yet. Because there'll be an Intel driver and support assistant icon in the system tray when it's finished. And I'm being really impatient. There it goes. 3 updates are available. Install now. Now it doesn't give us the warning, you know, of a newer version available anymore. Hit install all. And these are the same drivers, just newer versions of what we previously installed from Beelink. Always good to have the latest version of drivers for performance, reliability, security, and compatibility with other software and Windows updates. And we're getting them right from Intel. Couldn't ask for a more trusted source. You'll also see, since yesterday I did update the BIOS last night, we had T202 and now we have T203. The BIOS update process did not work the way Beelink provides it, and I had to override that in order to make it work. Unfortunately, I didn't film it, but it's more or less the same process where I need to open the batch file, pull out the AFU win command, open a command prompt, go into where the extracted BIOS files are, paste that AFU command with all the command line switches there at the run line, and then it installs. It's supposed to do that automatically, but it just opens and closes without running. So if you don't have the technical knowledge, you're not going to be able to get that BIOS update installed. Beelink process is broken. The Beelink image to re-image the system, which is what they recommended, doesn't work. And when it errors out in Chinese. And there's no way that I can determine how to fix it. And there's no way to extract the drivers off of it that solves the problem. So Beelink broke that. They broke the BIOS update process. They broke the image reinstall process. And they don't have the complete driver set up in their download. So is there anything more they could have done wrong? Or I think they pretty well covered it. Find me in Hawaii, now a member 42 months. Right on. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for renewing your membership and being a member so long. Bikeman said, yesterday my Beijing portable external SSD hard drive died. Did you reach out to them for a warranty? I think their warranty's through Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. I'd be kind of curious how that works out for you. Okay, so that's our first reboot after the first driver install, and then we have 2 more drivers to install, so let me get back to it. In just a minute, we'll probably get that notification again down here. See, it's still loading. There it is. That popped up. Now, likely, if I sit here long enough waiting, it should pick up where it left off, maybe. Just don't want to be so patient. So I'm going to double click on it, force that open. I don't need to restore the page. We'll go back to install all again. So now we're putting the graphics, the newer graphics driver on, which is going to take a while, just like it did before. Bikeman said he's going to reach out to Beijing and get that sorted. I got to get the receipt from the person that gifted it to me. Oh, you don't have, it's not something you bought. To determine warranty status, a lot of times they need to see a receipt, a proof of purchase, so that can be a little tricky when it's a gift. Find me in Hawaii with a $4.99 Super Chat contribution. Right on. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. And Agree. Decline the participation. Okay, let that install and go back over to the chat here. Jane Perkins is asking, why doesn't Intel offer the 2D MCU driver? Let's ask Rock. Oh, Scott emailed us the same link we showed on screen, so he found the same thing we found. But again, it's not easy to find it. Okay, so let's look at, let's bring up Grok. And let's talk to it. Why does Intel not offer the 2D MCU driver?
Intel doesn't offer a standalone 2D MCU driver on their own site. It's a specialized camera and visual sensing package for things like IR cameras, presence detection, and wake-on approach features. And Intel lets laptop makers like Dell customize and distribute it themselves. You have to grab it from your laptop manufacturer's support page, usually bundled with the Intel Integrated Sensor Solution driver. That's why it shows up as Intel 2D Imaging MCU Visual Sensing Controller Driver on Dell's downloads.
Did you get that? Now, as far as I know, this doesn't have any sensors on it to know if I'm approaching or waving a hand. But for whatever reason, it's still, the technology's in there and active, even though it's not being used. If it is being used, I don't know for what. So they could have disabled it in a firmware, but they didn't. They could have provided the driver, but they didn't. And it doesn't seem to really do anything regardless. So you could say, well, then why not just leave the device manager with the exclamation point if it's something you don't use? It's hillbilly. It's like unprofessional, sloppy, you know, why repair the wall when you can just put some tape over it? I don't know, because the tape looks like nobody knows how to repair a wall. And you'd be better off leaving the hole that you just haven't gotten around to fixing it than demonstrating to everybody you don't know how to simply patch a hole in a wall. And you're okay with living with a hole in the wall. I'm not okay with that. It's sloppy. I didn't buy a new computer to have errors in the device manager and then tell me, oh, just don't look at it. I know another way to not look at it. Return it. If I didn't buy it from eBay, if this was an Amazon, this would have gone back to Amazon. But because I bought it from eBay, the seller didn't do anything wrong. This isn't the seller's fault. And I'm not going to ask the seller to return my money because, quite frankly, I'm quite happy with the unit, how it runs. It's not like there's anything bad about the CPU. There's nothing bad about the system or unreliable, noise levels, all that. It's fine. It's a nice looking case. Once we get past all of this without any help from the manufacturer, it's a good computer. I'll keep it. But if I had this problem, and I bought it from like Amazon with free 30-day returns, would I have kept it? Probably not. Because I could probably use the same amount of money to buy an alternative competitor and not have this problem. In fact, we're going to prove that this coming week as we have a Firebat mini PC, we have a GMK Tech M8, and we have another company called Tico something. Never heard of them. And I'll bet you none of them have those problems with drivers. I could be wrong, but then I would be surprised. which wouldn't be the first time, but I'm not expecting to see this level of issue, even from these small manufacturers you may never have heard of before, versus one that you likely have. You'd think this would be the last thing in the world, this manufacturer would be the last thing in the world they would have problems with, is just basic driver support. But yet here we are. And that's why we do these real reviews, and that's why you can't really trust a review if a company's paying somebody to make it. That's more of a commercial. So right now there's really no enforcement over content creators disclosing their transparency or not, or lying. One would argue that lying is freedom of speech. You are free to lie. And you can lie because someone's paying you to lie. And you're not breaking any law when you're making a YouTube video and a company says, hey, Carey, we want you to tell your audience that our product is the best product you've ever used. It's amazing, unbelievable, and it's changed your life. And I'm like, well, you know, if I don't really feel that way, I'm not gonna. And they go, Carey, we're gonna give you $15,000. You got to do it by Tuesday. You got to show it to us beforehand. We want you to say specific things we want you to say. And if you do all that and publish it on time with our approval, we'll write you a check for $15,000. Well, let's go. You can be poor with your integrity or sell out and have a pretty nice life. I've been making the wrong choice this whole time. Your integrity isn't going to pay the rent. And you're not going to have any legal issues with nothing illegal about it. It's just very unethical, but yet very profitable. I think a lot of profitable things are unethical to me. Maybe I'm a hippie and I just don't know it. Let me go back and do that one last driver update here. Close that out. Back over here. And install. Okay, this will be the Wi-Fi drivers. Surprised they don't see the Bluetooth in there as well, but that's fine. Next. Accept the agreement. Next. Which CPU is this? Core Ultra 5 125H. Okay, and now we're all done. So this will come up, it'll scan, it'll say everything's good. Windows Update says everything's good. Device Manager says everything is good. And finally, we have a nice, clean, fresh, updated, activated, fully, latest drivers, fully loaded, no bloatware. And let's right click and go to System. We can verify Core i5 Ultra 120, Core Ultra 5 125H, 16 gigs of RAM that we installed, the ARC graphics, Windows 11 Pro 25H2, build number 26200.8117, which to the best of my knowledge is the latest build as of April 11th, 2026. And if we want to refresh this, we can go back to refresh results, let it scan one more time. Your Intel drivers and software up to date, along with the history of what we've done. And then all the specs right in here. Okay, there's our Beijing 1 terabyte drive right there. And then you drop down if you want to get more details. I mean, this Intel driver scanner that's just online is darn near as useful as CPU-Z. So anyway, that's what I wanted to get off my chest today. That was the point of going live today, because I wanted to do this while it was fresh on my mind and I could record it. And anybody who has one of these will benefit, and they'll finally find all the information easily, because my video will exist to explain it. I've also responded to the few forum comments where people were asking, many, many months ago for help. And I gave them the answer, even though it's late. Anybody in the future looking will see that thread and see my response. That includes Beelink forums if Beelink doesn't delete my response, because I'm pretty pissed off at them, and I want them to be aware of how upset, disappointed, and disgusted I am by them, and that I resent having to do their job for free because they won't do it. I am absolutely livid, and I want them to make sure that they know how pissed off I am, that this is not the agreement that I agreed to. I did not agree to do your job for free because you won't do it or you're not smart enough to know how. That's not what your role is supposed to entail with any other company. If you were tech support for literally any of your competitors, this is not the way it works. And I shouldn't, as a customer, have to tell you, because it wasn't always this way at Beelink. Beelink does know better, but they've dropped the ball, and I don't know why, and nobody's picking it up. And it's been that way for at least 6 months that I know of. So I got a feeling we're looking at a dying company here. I'd like them to prove me wrong and get back to the Beelink they used to be as a leader in this industry for their competitors to fear. Now you're just getting laughed at. All right, I don't know why my screen's blanking out from time to time like that. That's pretty interesting. But regardless, another problem for another day. And I'll just look here in the comments if there's any questions before we wrap it up today. Craig Sutton says you can uninstall the ISP camera device. It'll just put it right back. You can delete it, and then every time you restart the system, it goes right back again. Yeah, it's one of those things you can disable it and just leave it disabled, but you're always going to have this notification when you go into Device Manager that something's been disabled. It stands out as a red flag for me as a technician. It's sort of like if the way that you fix problems, like if your check engine light is on your car, and the way that you fix that is you take a piece of electrical tape and you place it over the light so you can't see it anymore, then you and I have two very different ideas on what the definition of fix it. Hey, you got to get that check engine light fixed. Oh yeah, I meant to put some tape on that. Come on. Again, if you want to work as a professional computer technician, that is a quick way for you to get a career end, or at least find, like if you want a reason for your boss to fire you because you don't have the guts to quit, just do that at the office and you will be let go of pretty quickly. You're supposed to be more professional if you're a professional technician. If you're a home user, then enjoy your tape, right? Nobody's going to punish you for it. That's you doing it to yourself. And because I don't want to have to go find a new career, I'm kind of self-motivated to try and make everything as good as possible, as quickly as possible, as much as possible the first time, so I don't have to go back. And that keeps the customers happy. It keeps me challenged. And it keeps me self-reliant to pay the bills. So long as I can earn a living by doing a job better than the next person, I can do it faster, cheaper, instead of just, we'll throw some tape on it. I mean, again, we're back to pumping gas. Anybody can do that. I'm not interested in it. All right, looking back through the chat. Dennis says, do you know if they're going to add a comment to use Grok for any support? They would be doing their customers a favor if they did, but I doubt they'll do that. Supreme Nerd said, I wouldn't be surprised if they did it. This company's really put a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah, well, imagine how I feel. I paid for it. A bad taste in my mouth. But it wasn't blind. I mean, I really enjoyed their products in the past. I didn't expect them to go backwards. And I don't expect my viewers to go backwards. I expect Beelink to keep up with their competitors. I expect the viewers to keep up. And I do my role to bridge these two things together so everybody can keep up, and you're not just like, keep up how? Well, I'm here to tell you how. So when it gets dismissed, it's like, well, that's not on me. The fact that I felt obligated to make this video for all the poor customers of Beelink that were abandoned, neglected, or dismissed, and I'm doing it for free when people at Beelink are getting paid, and the people who are the victims paid to be victims. This is how I instill justice in my world, is to provide the information nobody else is providing. And without any dog in the race, there's no repercussions that can occur to me for speaking the truth. On the other hand, I'm also not going to get rich for speaking the truth. But that falls secondary to helping the victims and to calling out Beelink and drawing attention to this. And the idea of maybe public shaming them is what it's going to take for them to get their act together. The fact that even if it took public shaming for that to happen is in and of itself a public shame. They should have been self-motivated and not let it get this far. And if they're going to do that, then how much lower are they going to go? Because now, I mean, if they're able to do this and think it's fine, what else is fine in their world? So if they go out of business, good riddance. And if they turn their ship around and ship, S-H-I-P, they turn their ship around, then great. I'd like to see them come back and fight. But if they just want to throw in the towel and give up and walk away, then go. I'm not going to discourage that. If you don't want to be here, go. Your competitors will gladly fill the space you take. So it's in Beelink's hands. It's always been. But the public needs to be aware of it. Mr. BCA says, what do I think about Linux? Well, I'm not a Linux channel. I run a computer repair business, and the way that all started was based on a need for people needing help. And more people need help back in 1991 and through 2026 with Windows-based computers than any other computer around the world. They have a market share, Windows market share is somewhere around, well, I guess I'll just ask Rock. What is the Windows market share around the world?
On desktops worldwide, Windows holds about 61% market share as of March 2026. Across all devices, including phones, it's around 26%, since Android dominates mobile. Windows 11 now makes up 67% of all Windows installs. Those are the latest stat counter numbers.
What is the market share of Apple computers and Linux-based computers by comparison?
Apple's Mac OS, including both OS X and Mac OS labels, sits at about 15% worldwide on desktops. Linux holds around 3%, so together they make up roughly a fifth of what Windows has.
If I want to run a business repairing computers and operating systems, which operating system and computer gives me the most opportunity to find work and to stay employed?
Windows PCs give you the most work and steady employment. Windows runs on roughly 70% of all desktops worldwide, so that's where the overwhelming majority of customer problems show up. Virus cleanup, driver issues, slow performance, blue screens, software conflicts. Macs are about 15%, Linux around 4%. You could specialize in either, but you'd be fighting over a tiny slice of the market. Windows machines are also far easier and cheaper to get parts for, which means more repairs you can actually complete in-house instead of just recommending a new machine. If you're starting a repair business, stick with Windows. It's where the volume is.
There seems to be a gross misunderstanding from viewers of this channel. And again, not our members, they've been around long enough, but particularly from newer viewers that don't understand the concept of running a business. Or they put their feelings over their own career livelihood. I do that with ethics. You know, I let the ethics get in the way of my own success because I don't feel right about earning money that way, certain ways. But I've seen people that they want to root for the underdog and they will suffer voluntarily because they believe in a cause. And I'm just not into believing in causes when I'm struggling as far as, you know, making sure I can pay the rent and pay the electric bill and buy food and buy clothes and go to the doctor and get a haircut. And I can't, there's only one of me. So I don't have anything against Mac or Apple or Linux. I just can't make any money from it. It's very, very difficult to find that work. And, you know, if you can find it, it does pay well. And if anything happens to that line of work and you have to go find another job, you're right back to square one, where it's going to be very difficult to find that job unless you're willing to move. I can pretty much find work anywhere. So if I decide I want to go back to Michigan, I can do what I'm doing in Michigan. It doesn't matter. I can make these YouTube videos in Michigan. I'm not tied to where the company is. On the other hand, if I'm a specialist and I'm only working with certain equipment or certain software, then I have to go where the equipment and software are. And I'm not willing to just move to Salt Lake City, Utah because there's a business opportunity. I don't want to live there. It's a fine place to visit, but I don't want to live there. So I like the freedom that the ubiquity of Windows offers me, that I can pretty much go anywhere I want to go and find work. And it's a great sense of freedom to be where I want to be, not where I have to be. But I don't personally care if there was a parallel universe and Linux was the market share dominator, then I'd be here doing Linux. It's just common sense. It's lots of work in that, you know, parallel universe where Windows is the 4% or 15% market share. I don't personally care. I don't have feelings about Windows. I don't have feelings about Linux. I don't have feelings about Apple. I have feelings about being able to pay my bills and not being homeless. So that's all. It doesn't really get personal. I don't care. If that's the world that we live in, I'm not going to be in some sense of delusion that it isn't that way. I can if I want to, but it's not very productive and it's probably not very sustainable. So, you know, for those who enjoy Linux, and I probably use Linux in many of the devices I have, like a Fire Stick or, you know, certain devices, electronic devices that may have Linux running in the background. For all I know, the entertainment center in my car could be Linux-based. I don't know. I'm not dealing with the sudo commands and bash prompts, so it's behind the scenes and I don't care. But it's just about having a career and not working any harder than I have to just even find the work. It's enough to do the work. It's a whole nother job to find the work. And to make that any more difficult is not something I'm interested in. But if the world changes and there's money to be made and career opportunities, I'm certainly willing to pivot given a reasonable justifiable logical conclusion of what opportunities exist that did not exist before. If those opportunities do come up and things change, I'm open to changing. But I'm not going to change because I feel like it or because, oh, I want to support an underdog. So I have nothing against it. I mean, to each their own on that. Have fun. If you can build a career on it, enjoy it. I don't want to work that hard. Windows is everywhere. Finding work is pretty easy. Mr. BCA said, I think Windows will ultimately die out. Well, everything ultimately dies out. Nobody's on top very long. You know, Sears was unstoppable. Montgomery Ward, JCPenney, Kmart were unstoppable until they stopped. And we will eventually die out, right? We're not going to be here forever. And the question is, which one happens first? I'm not really worried about trying to predict the future. I'm not good at it. My crystal ball has never worked. I'm not a good gambler. If I go to a casino, I will lose whatever I bring in pretty quickly. It's not in me to have that. Whatever that feeling is people have, you know, they're like, oh, I'm going to choose black. I'm going to choose red at the roulette table. I'm going to play this slot machine over here. This one's hot. I can just tell it's ready. Whatever that is that people feel, I don't feel it. I am completely numb as far as that goes. And I'm just dumping money away. I might as well just drop the money in the parking lot of the casino and save the time. It's not even like it takes me 3 hours to lose it. It'd take me about 15 minutes. I'm that bad at it. So this idea that you think you can foresee the future and you want to believe that, knock yourself out. But you don't know any better than anybody else. You're hopeful to see things your way. And that's fine. I mean, I suppose we all are in our own way. To have that kind of a market dominance, though, in all realism, it isn't going to change overnight. It would have to be a slow degradation and decay. Or some other technology will have to supplant it. So like if Google comes out with their operating system and they're like, you can download our Google OS for free and put it on your old computer, then the question is, will the third-party manufacturers support it? So if you need QuickBooks, are you going to be able to put QuickBooks on that? Because if you can't, it's a deal killer. If you're running a business for a living and you need the business software, or you don't have a company and that business software needs Windows and Windows is dying, you don't have a choice. Unless you want to close your business, you don't have a choice. So the online world wants to say Windows is going away. But the people who go to work for a living, most of those people who work in an office are sitting at a Windows computer. And it's just growing. It's not getting smaller, it's getting bigger. And I don't know why people live in this world of delusion that's online, that's so different from the world of reality outside. I can't explain this human behavior. But what I can tell you is it doesn't really matter how you feel. You may not like the rain, and you may think it's not going to rain tomorrow. But you have no control over whether it rains or not. And you're just going to have to deal with it like everybody else. But if it makes you sleep better at night, that telling yourself it's not going to rain tomorrow, and it just so happens it's not going to rain tomorrow, and it all just works out by luck, and you're going to pat yourself on the back, I guess. I mean, if that's what gets you through the day. But I'm more of somebody that likes to see something in reality that I can actually manipulate and change. You know, sort of a before and after, to know that I played a role in that. If I don't play a role in it, like watching a football game, it's definitely not as enjoyable as being in the football game where I can control, or I can have some control over the outcome of that game. Or even being a coach and having some control over calling the plays. But to sit and watch it as an armchair quarterback sitting on the couch yelling at the TV, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how I feel. It changes nothing because I'm not having any actual impact on what's really happening any more than I can control the rain, or I can control society or business when it comes to operating systems. So my feelings don't play they play no role in reality whatsoever. So I don't speculate beyond, you know, what's close. Anything that far out, you or I or all of us could be long gone by then. So you might end up being right in 70 years, but then we're probably not going to be around in 70 years. So you'll never know. What I do know is what's today. What can I do today? Because the bills are due tomorrow. And the bills will be due every month on schedule. And the bills aren't the same amount every month. The electric bill varies, the water bill varies, etc., etc. That's enough for me to deal with without trying to speculate what the future holds. Because whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong won't change a damn thing. And I just don't need to spend my time thinking about things beyond my control when there are things right now I can deal with today. So I try to focus on today. Try not to focus on yesterday. Try not to think too much about tomorrow. Let's work with what we've got and be reasonable in planning ahead. Tomorrow's fine, the next day's fine. But once you exceed out, 30 days and you're now looking at something you have no control over, that nothing you're saying makes any difference other than whatever it's doing for your own personal emotional state. I try not to waste time on that. For me, I would rather spend the time making money and making change that I can see happen. But that's just the way I am. Dennis says, Carey, I think people don't realize you're describing the difference between a professional and an enthusiast. In my day, I've been on the IT cross many, many times. I know exactly what is allowed. Well, we do see that a lot. The enthusiasts kind of live in a lot of them live in a bubble. They live in an online bubble. And if they would spend any time outside, like in reality, at a workplace, for example, seeing what computers your employer has you use, what operating system, you don't get a say in it. You're hired to do a job. You're not hired to tell the business how you feel. That's a quick way to get you fired, or at least get a meeting with HR. You can feel however you want at home. You're here to work. That's why we pay you. And, you're not here to protest. You're not here to tell us your political beliefs. If you start getting involved in stuff like that, it's not productive for the company. That's not why you're getting paid. You'll likely get a talking to, and they'll tell you, focus on the job, on why you were hired, or we're going to let you go. Because now you're affecting the productivity of your coworkers by distracting them with your political discourse or your religious discourse or your gender discourse or whatever it happens to be. This is not the place for it at work. That's for you to do at home on your own time. So when I'm doing this YouTube channel, this is an extension of my work. And I enjoy my work. I love it. And I love doing the YouTube videos. But it's different from an enthusiast who loves what they do, but they don't have any accountability. They can give themselves any title they want. If I tell you I'm a computer technician, that's not a title I gave myself. That's a title that I was hired as. An employer gave me that title. I did not self-title. But most enthusiasts do. I'm a computer expert. Well, who called you a computer expert? What official gave you that designation? Well, I just know more about computers than most people. How do you know that? Well, the people I talk to. Right. So you talk to everyone, or you just talk to people who know less about computers than you? I guess if that's the way we're going to work the world, I'm king of the universe. Sure, why not? In the professional world, when you're applying for a job, you're applying for a title. And if that title is offered to you, then you can claim it. But for you to just make it up and you think it's the same thing, there's a serious disconnect from reality to what's happening online. Seriously. But, I can't control people's behavior, but I can point it out, make you aware. If you're not noticing this behavior, this is something that kind of goes hand in hand in the enthusiast world. There's always exceptions. I'm not going to say everybody does it. But it's universally true in the working world. There's no question or doubt. When you get hired for a position, you are given a title. You aren't taking one. you're offered one. There's a big difference between taking something and being offered something. Okay. So I'm agreeing with you, Dennis. You're absolutely right. Edward Bass joins us, says hello. Let's see, Mr. BCA says, what if Grok was your operating system for a small fee yearly? What if there were no hypothetical situations? Can you answer that? You have a very vivid imagination that is not grounded in reality, where you like to make up situations that have no basis for existing. So again, you can sit there and play these mind games with yourself all you want. That doesn't get any bills paid. If and when an operating system ever comes out that is a Grok operating system, and we have some information to know to gauge a value to it, I'll give you my opinion, but I can't value your imagination. It's whatever's in your head. That's only in your head. It's not a real thing. So if you want to sit there and just make up your imagination, what would you do if aliens from another planet came down and ate your sidewalk and were threatening to eat your driveway? How would you respond? Come on, what are we, 6? What if Superman and Batman got into a fight? Who would win that? That doesn't pay any bills. That's not helping anybody. But when something actually does exist outside of your imagination, and you want to ask me what I think about the value of that, I'm happy to tell you. But anything you make up in your head, that you own that. I don't know anything about what you're talking about. I'm just saying, it's just not the way the business world works. What if we made $1 million this quarter? Well, that would be great. So what are you going to do that? What if you had $1 million in your bank account? I'll tell you what, let's get that $1 million in my bank account first, and then I'll tell you what if after, what I'm going to do with it. Otherwise, it's just playing a mind game, which isn't getting anything done. But I appreciate your participation here, and I appreciate your questions, along with everyone else joining us to make these videos much more interesting by being interactive, so it's not just a content creator preaching at you, but rather you guys have the ability to interact. And very important to me to make sure people feel a connection as part of the community, and that we clarify any misunderstandings about what I'm trying, what my goal is here, what I'm trying to accomplish here, and understand the message that I'm offering for free. And I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything, but if people want to learn, I'm happy to teach them what I know, and that's it. It doesn't have to have anybody's approval. It doesn't have to meet any requirements other than the rules I make in my head, my morals and my ethics. And you can do the same thing. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody can have a YouTube channel. It's free. You've already got the camera. I mean, you can download Prism as an app on your phone and just go live right now. What's stopping you? If you're interested, have at it. When I started this channel, you had to buy cameras and HDMI cables and capture cards, figure out the OBS software. Now you just download an app on your phone and you're good to go. Go on TikTok, go on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitch, Facebook Reels. You have so many options, and it's so easy. The barrier to entry is completely demolished. People still won't do it. They make it as easy as possible. They still won't do it. They got a lot to say, but only in the chat room. They won't actually put themselves on camera and say it. Most people won't. The psychology of that's fascinating. But I encourage you, if you want to do that, explore it. Might find it as rewarding as I do. I really enjoy it. Old Man Timer says, thank you, Carey. Thank you, Old Man Timer. And Josh Kinder says, thank you, that really helps me see the chat better. Good. Good. Well, I'm just trying to help. Sometimes people don't want to hear what I have to say, and I have no control over that. I'm going to be honest, because I think it's just better to be honest. Rip the Band-Aid off. And if people don't want to hear it, if somebody says, you know, I have a problem with what you're doing, then my response would be, which one of us has a problem? You do? Well, you should probably work on that. I don't know why. Your problem is not my problem. Unless you're paying me, and I've agreed to take on your problem in exchange to get paid. Otherwise, no deal. My mother did that to me once. I have a problem with you. And I said, well, you should probably talk to somebody about that. You could tell she was pissed and she was impressed at the same time. She didn't quite know how to respond. Well, he's right. Like, what does your problem have to do with me? My problem is you. Well, you should probably talk to somebody about that. I don't know what you want. That's not my problem. You just said it's your problem. I got my own problems. I don't need yours. If you want to pay me, I didn't tell my mom that, but I will tell customers, you know, if you want help, that's what I do for a living. That's how I earn money. I don't do that for free, except, you know, what I do here on YouTube. But what's interesting is that people on social media will dismiss the very same help and solutions that they will pay somebody for. And when they pay the person, they believe them, they thank them. But when they get it for free, because they didn't pay for it, it has no value and therefore can go in the trash can. It's very easily dismissed. It's a very interesting human behavior that if you offer somebody something of value just for free to take it, a lot of people will take it and then just throw it away. But if somebody approaches you and says, I want to buy that thing from you, and you say, I want $5,000 for this thing, and they're like, you got a deal, then they're like, thank you for selling it to me. You know, they gladly hand over the $5,000 and then they cherish it. Same exact thing. One is sold and one is given away for free. One is tossed in the trash and one is cherished. But it's the exact same thing. What's changing is the human psychology of putting a value on free, which immediately, because it's YouTube, dismisses it and it gets challenged. No paying customer has ever challenged me. Never. They've always paid me and said thank you. So I find it interesting that the only time I get challenged is from people who don't pay anything. Isn't that bizarre, human behavior? It's weird. Same exact thing. One is free, one you pay for. Same thing, nothing's any different, but the one you pay for, you have gratitude for. And the one that's free, people will quite frequently dismiss it as nonsense and a waste of time and valueless. Whose fault is that? I placed a value on it when I gave it away for free, didn't I? So I basically, because I didn't charge for this information, I basically said this information is valueless. That's how it can be perceived. But if you had one of these computers and I kept this information to myself and I said, if you want to know how to solve this problem, pay me my 1 hour rate of $125 and send me your phone number, and I will call you on the phone and I will tell you secretly, privately, what the answer is. And they will pay the $125 and they will say thank you every single time. Fascinating psychology, which again, pretty much only exists online. In reality, you know, the expression don't look a gift horse in the mouth. If someone's giving you a horse and you want to check its teeth and overall health before you'll accept it, it's insulting to the person offering you the gift that you have to evaluate if the gift is worth accepting. That's so offensive. But Some people still behave that way. And they probably don't get offered too many gifts. I'm just scrolling through the chat to see if there's any final questions. We had a slow Saturday today, so I have some time. We're going on about 3 hours for today's live broadcast, but I got done what I wanted to get done here. And then what I'll probably do is I'll pull the device manager hardware ID out. So if anybody Googles that hardware ID, it'll take them to the video. So I'll, because I already loaded the driver now, I don't know what it is. But I can look back at yesterday's video and grab that hardware ID. And now at least this isn't a standard configuration, a nice clean slate with Windows activated, drivers installed. But I can do my normal routine, which is the optimizer, VLC, remove Xbox Live and other stuff in the that's installed by default. And then it'll go back in the box and go on a shelf. It was just a lot more effort to get there than we've seen in a long time from a company that we've never had these kind of issues from before. It's a new low. It's profoundly sad and disappointing that they've let themselves fall so far from where they once were. And I'm so doubtful they're going to be able to get back up. I think it's probably going to get worse. So for me, they have some other machines, Beelink does, that I'm interested in, but I'm afraid. My confidence has been completely shattered now. And since there's so many other PC manufacturers to choose from, why would I risk it? Unless I'm getting paid, unless there's something in it for me, because of more of this is in it for me, why would I sign myself up for more masochistic torture for free? I should get paid for this. That is above and beyond what any customer should ever have to do. If you were my customer and I did this to you and you said this is unacceptable and we're going to let you go, we got to find somebody else, I would agree with you. I would say in your shoes, I would do the exact same thing. And yet here they are doing it. It's not meant to beat up on Beelink. It's because I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't even be bothered. Sometimes people misunderstand that it's what you care about is what you fight for. If you didn't care about it, you wouldn't fight for it. But sometimes people just see the fight as an aggression, as like just a random attack. It's not. The opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite is apathy, where you just don't care. This is what caring looks like. It's truth, it's a little painful, and there's a little bit of suffering that anybody with apathy wouldn't be bothered to waste their time with it. They just don't care. So when somebody is arguing with you about something, it's because they care about it. It's not because they hate you. And oftentimes that's the way fights go, is this becomes personal. They're passionate about something and you're passionate about it. And you both care about it so much that you're going to argue. If either one of you didn't care, one of you just walk away. You just wouldn't care. I don't care. That's apathy. Which is worse? Not caring or caring? Careful what you ask for. If there was something I could do to help Beelink, because Beelink might say, this isn't helping us. It is. If there was some control I had, like over the football game, if I had some role at this company that I could start helping them, I would gladly take it on and put money where my mouth is and show them this is how you do it. It's so easy. Even I can do it. So why can't they? Or why won't they? So I'm not here to just put them under the, throw them under the bus or put them down. I'm just very disappointed and sad, and I want to let everybody know, because I don't think this is common knowledge yet. And This may be a sign of what's coming. That's what I'm afraid of, and I just want everybody to be aware of it. So if you're deciding to drop a few $100s of your hard-earned money on this brand, it's a little bit of a gamble right now from what I'm seeing, in my opinion. It's what it appears to be, and the company's not doing anything to disclose any other information to reassure us, I guess is the word I'm looking for. They're just quiet, leaving it out to the imagination. That's worrisome. If things change, I'll let you know. But if you never see Beelink on this channel again, you'll know why. It's not personal. It's just they're not keeping up with competitors. There's better values to be had, better support to be had for the same or less money. So why are we going back out of loyalty? They're clearly not loyal to us, or they wouldn't have done this to us. If you're not going to give me your loyalty, you're not going to get my loyalty. I'm going to treat you the same way. You want to ignore me? That's fine. I'll ignore you too. You want to be nice and you want to be helpful? I'll be nice and I'll be helpful too. I'm just going to mirror back what I'm getting. And since this was not volunteer, I paid money for this. I was not expecting this. If I would have known about this, if some other content creator had the guts to call this out, I wouldn't be doing this right now. And I never would have bought this. That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to protect the consumers. And honestly, I'm trying to protect Beelink, because if they'd listen, if they'd make the changes, they have a way to come back. You know what I mean? To all is forgiven and we've corrected all these things and thank you for bringing it to our attention for whatever reason, whatever excuse. Just fix it. And if you're not going to fix it, let's not buy it. I'm not buying it. I don't care what you do. But just understand that you don't get blindsided the way that I was. I got blindsided by this. And somebody needs to talk about it. Here we are. Scott Messerschmidt saying, thanks, Carey and Mara. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We have a minis forum G1 Pro that we're going to review tomorrow. So we'll do our regular Sunday broadcast at 1 o'clock Phoenix time. That's Pacific time right now. Live with the live chat room with the minis forum G1 Pro. And as I mentioned, we've taken some of the monies that we've received, the gifts and support we've received from our viewers, to buy a few more mini PCs from Amazon, all bare bones, so we can get them cheap. That means we have to put our own RAM and storage and operating system in. And that gives us an opportunity to buy what I want to buy, not what a company wants to send me. I think the GMK Tech M8 may be a really good bargain. If it's something I'm considering buying, based on my values and what I perceive as a good deal, then I want to share it with you. If I see something as a bad deal, I'm not going to buy it. If a company sends it to me for free, I'll review it. I bought this because I thought it was a good deal. I was wrong. But once it's all said and done, if we didn't have any of those hiccups and all those difficulties, I think this would have been a good deal. If I'd have had this information in this video before I purchased it, and I purchased it anyway, and I knew exactly what I had to do, and I'm okay with that, and I spent the money, then yeah, I'd say it's a good deal. But I was blindsided by this in a way that I haven't been blindsided in a long time, from a company that has never blindsided me before. They don't have that reputation. So I'm like, why am I the only one to talk about this? What's going on? I don't know. Supreme Nerd said he purchased the AMD chipset notifier. Support the channel and get this tool in the Windows 11 optimized. I appreciate that, Supreme Nerd. You know, the tools are there. They're pretty simple. They're things you could do yourself, but they automate the process and they're a lot quicker, and they're very inexpensive. So if the content that I provide isn't enough to justify supporting the channel, But maybe, you know, if you're getting something in return, like the optimizer or the notifier or the netfix tool. The netfix tool was designed for Windows 10, but it works on Windows 11. And I had to use it the other day on a Windows 11 computer where the network just stopped working. I don't know what happened. And it was a pretty new build. So I thought, well, I'll just use my own Windows 10 netfix tool to reset all the networking components on an otherwise new build, which I don't know why they would have been wrong. Never happened before. I ran it, rebooted, networking problems were all solved. And that was on a Windows 11 25H2. Very strange. I have no explanation for what happened, why that happened, but I'm glad I didn't have to manually do everything by hand, and the tool just automated it. So I don't talk about it a lot, you know, sit there and I probably should, you know, talk about, hey, you should subscribe and you should like the video and you should check out my merch. I probably dropped the ball on that more than I should, but I appreciate the reminder. And a lot of people don't know they exist because I don't push it very hard. Thanks to Mara, of course, for all the work she does in the background with our thumbnails and titles and video notes. It's a lot of work. Plus, whenever you email us, she's handling all of the correspondence unless I have to get involved. And if you want to reach out, this is our email address. We love hearing from you guys if you want to share an experience with us. Or you need some help, computer help, figuring out why your printer doesn't print or your network doesn't network or your computer doesn't compute. That's what we're here for, and we'll do our best to help you. And sometimes the way we help you is to just point you to another video where it's already answered. It may not even be us. Somebody else may have already made the video, and we'll just point you to watch that video. So we're not here just to self-promote, but we are trying to get you a solution, and we'll do our best. And it's free. showcasecreate@gmail.com is how you reach us. And of course, Mara is right on top of those emails pretty regularly, and you'll probably get a response within hours in most cases. And with that, I think it'll wrap it up for today. And thanks to all of our members in green in our chat room and the members in green that are not in our chat room right now that support us by being members. And that makes a world of difference. Without those members, this video would not exist. Not quite sure any of my videos from this point forward would exist without the members. They are the big corporation that traditionally pay a content creator to make the content they want the content creator to make. But that big corporation is made up of viewers around the world that see value in this. And while some contribute more than others, there's no one person that's controlling it or our content. They just want to see more of it, and that's how we pay for it. No secrets. It's all transparent. I'm not getting rich off of it, but I love what I do, and I can't thank you enough for making it possible for me to continue to do this. And that's going to wrap it up. So thank you again. I hope you'll join us tomorrow at the usual time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. And we have a live unboxing of the G1 Pro. I've never taken it out of the box. We do everything live and unscripted. It's very real. And if you appreciate that, you don't want to miss tomorrow's show. That's going to wrap it up. And until tomorrow, bye for now.